Oh my god, I went on a whole tangent. That's so lame. I went on a whole tangent. You couldn't even hear me. What? For 4 minutes. For 4 minutes. Oh god, that's so embarrassing. Fucking Christ. How could I even? I don't like that. But I'll roll with it. I'm about to play a Metaphor Refantazio, and it's very much influenced by Persona 5 stylistically. And it's funny to see Persona 5 influencing a game that is its own thing and not attached to anything else, as opposed to what happened with Soul Hackers 2, where it was just like, what if Persona 5, but with a different in a slightly different in a slightly different world. And it seems interesting, and it's one of those things where it's just like the people who you know and love from one game are trying to make a game that seems very, very similar but slightly different. And we actually got it on console. The demo, I mean, because the game isn't even out yet. Um, but we thought that it might be cool to play, especially because a lot of games recently have been really hard to run, especially in AAA land, because they're just like they are asking for higher and higher specs. I'm sure that if we got like Black Myth Wukong, our computer would choke trying to stream it. So it's interesting to have an alternative and seeing games still released for the PS4 sometimes. So we're kind of curious on how it'll play, especially since we haven't used our capture card in a while. And as your first time watching us, hi, I'm Thorn. I use she, they, and they pronouns. I am a dragon fruit dragon in a plural system that wets itself. English. Proceed with English. Internet. I think Persona 5 had some weird internet feature as well. I think it had to do with like being held up. Like sometimes people could hold your party members at gunpoint. Maybe the tangent was like about our love for Persona and being torn by the obvious the obvious brand re like the brand and trend reason for a game like this existing, i.e., aping the style of Persona 5 and the vibe of it. The vibe that has spilled over into everything else, because even the remake of Persona 3, I would say, is very much in the style of Persona 5. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who's actually played it, because I haven't. So, so a lot of times when a game or a franchise shifts radically, say like with Resident Evil, some people might say that Resident Evil 7 is like a good return to form, while other people will say like this feels too radically different. And some people might say it's so radically different that they should have just branched it off and made it its own different thing. Kind of like how Resident Evil 4 in one of its prototype builds became what is now Devil May Cry 1 and spawned a whole separate series instead of changing course on Resident Evil to be dramatically different. And I like that they're finally just not not being like, I guess, stylistically revisionist on other Shin Megami Tensei games, because of Persona 5, even though we love Persona 5, and we're actually comparing Persona 5 to Final Fantasy 7, because Persona 5 to Atlas is what Final Fantasy 7 is to Square Enix. well, Square Enix has had Final Fantasy VII for longer since it was Square since before when it was called SquareSoft. But it was like this albatross on its back, like, we can't ever do better than this. Oh no! And they're like constantly trying to chase the hype of Final Fantasy VII. To the point where at one point they were like, we're never gonna do a Final Fantasy VII remake until we make a Final Fantasy that tops the reception and like critical acclaim and like height that Final Fantasy VII reached. And I don't know if Square Enix said that that one of the Final Fantasies had reached that. I would say our favorite Final Fantasy since 7 haven't, 10 hasn't, 12 hasn't, 13 hasn't. I haven't played 15, but I I don't know if it's the sort of zeitgeist that Final Fantasy 7 was. I like what I've seen of it, but it just isn't. Persona 5 is much more recent though, and it's not as though there's not other like influences in other like Atlas games that could be like the Final Fantasy 7 of Atlas. It's just Persona 5 was just so culturally and like gameplay wise like just different and just right at the right time and was like really cogent in a lot of ways, and it's kind of like a game that you would show someone to try to get them into anime, sort of. Like it feels like very gateway, and didn't have to chase Persona 5's hype and style, but Atlas totally has, and everything has had a splash of Persona 5 on it for forever. And we feel kind of weird about that because it's just like, yeah, Persona 5 was good, but maybe try something else. We mostly want to play this originally because you get to ride a skateboard. P5 is amazing. I very much recommend it. Unauthorized reproduction and distribution of any part of this product is prohibited by law. We appreciate your cooperation and support. This is a work of fiction. Named characters, businesses, places, events, and incidents are either the product of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance to any person's liberty or actual events is purely coincidental. A very small percentage of individuals may experience adverse symptoms when exposed to certain light patterns or flashing lights on screen, including dizziness, involuntary spasms, and/or even loss of consciousness. If any members of your household are... Wow, and I'm so I'm so good at reading. I I did that to like put attention on the fact that if you don't let the player select when to advance it, those warnings are meaningless.
I trust this will suffice.
God smiles upon the generous.
Oh, away with you! Back to your cesspit, beggar!
Damn. Kick the shit out that kid.
A land grotesque as its people. You dreamt of utopia. You saw the tribes united as one.
Oh.
That dream died long ago. You should have done the same. Your kingdom will perish alongside you.
Okay. I actually think sugar-free ketchup would be better. They put too much sugar in everything.
By my hand.
I cannot fathom it. His Majesty killed in his own bed.
The blooms upon the prince's grave had yet to wilt. Without an heir to wear the crown, what will become of the royal magic?
Thus vulnerable, an invasion might undo us.
From within or without, the state hangs on a precipice. It may even come to civil war.
In dark times, we must stand together.
Your Eminence.
Who could do this? Few could even enter the king's chambers, let alone draw close. And yet,
His Majesty's arcane power could deflect near any blade. With all the royal bloodline's magic, who could harm him at all?
shadows stir in the castle just as they did with the prince. What hellbound soul could end a royal life? Who would dare such atrocity? Huh?
Louise.
A shame to die with no heirs. The prince was taken too soon. And only a king may wield the royal scepter, the very crux of his vaunted bloodline's magic, which made such a fine deterrent to war. One has to ask, them dead, who shall take the throne?
Oh, is it gonna be you? I bet it's you.
Here begins the demo prologue of Metaphor Refantazio. What we have to offer you is but a taste of the story from its beginning. But through it, your experience will mirror the full version. Should you wish it, you may carry over your save data to the full version. We thank you for expressing your curiosity about our tale of fantasy.
Oh, you're not gonna read game contents in here and may vary from the full version of the game? Not gonna say that. Hey, Fizzy. Metaphor Refantazio. Okay, the voice, the narrator guy kind of reminded me of the narrator in Catherine. I like the sounds of the menus. Okay, let's see if this game is just fluff.
Who's there? I can feel you watching me from a place beyond my sight. Whoever you are, please tell me, does our world pique your interest?
Yes, yes, it does.
Pardon my curiosity, but would you tell me your name? That is to say, tell me who you really are. The one who meets my eyes across a strange threshold.
Well, if you insist. Motherfucker's name is Scheming Man.
Ah, a most unusual name. One I've never heard in our world. Which suggests to me you might reside in a world beyond ours. It is a curious thing that in your eyes, my entire world is but the dawn of a story yet untold. Or to put it another way, this is a fantasy.
You sound incredibly calm to be acknowledging that.
But can it truly be dismissed as something so far removed from you?
I'm not sure.
If indeed you wish to cross to our world for a time, I would first ask that you indulge one question.
Okay.
Is fantasy limited to the confines of imagination? Would you call it a powerless creation?
Not always.
More than wishful thinking, more than fiction. Something capable of affecting the realities beyond its bounds.
Yes, yes, of course.
This must be what you believe. I confess my own answer still eludes me. But consider, if fantasy is born from hope, a desire to make the world better than it is, then that hope can be made manifest. Thus does change come, and thus is fantasy forged into a new reality. Perhaps the story about to unfold before you will tell us. I'm thoroughly invested now myself.
Well, you are scheming. Of course, you're invested.
So, let this tale begin.
Storyteller. For players who want to focus purely on the story, battles pose no threat of death. Easy. For players who want to breeze through battles, this difficulty can be changed later on. The storyteller doesn't say that. For players who want to breeze through battles, the standard difficulty where battles will thrill and challenge. For players who want intense battles and regicide, a high-risk, high-reward battle mode for only battle-hardened players. I'll do hard mode. I really am sure. I love pain.
Looks like we're in the clear.
Hey,
The
we have the same
capital's
color
just through this
eyes.
desert.
Is it true then? The king is dead? Aye, and the guards are more concerned with the funeral than keeping the roads safe. So now the monsters are roaming in broad daylight. No soldiers to stop them.
Monsters, huh? I've certainly been hearing the stories.
To say nothing of the vacant throne. There's a storm coming. Mark my words. That much is certain.
What's the problem?
They're bandits!
Come on, let's see some respect for the militia!
They have horns.
Us folk, we're commoners! No crown or church will save us!
But Lord Luis will save us one and all. All we ask is a little tribute. You're with us or against us? And if you're against us...
Yep, there's some magic.
An igniter? How'd they get one of those?
We gotta do something.
Come on, hey, keep it moving! Hurry it up! Next one! Huh? Look at you. What have we got here? He's an elder. So he is. No horns, no knife is. Filthy gremlin like you. What you got in the capital? Oh,
Nothing.
what's this? Looks like you've been holding out on us, boy.
Wait, no! You can't have that. You can take everything else. Not that. Go!
Hold it! Should have listened to us, chum. Now fall in line! Unless you want to get stuck like us.
Ouchies.
You drew steel. I take it you are prepared to die by it.
Stand aside!
Oh, more than ow. Very ow. All these protagonists are so fucking androgynous. I love it. You don't understand.
Ugh, this place already feels like a death trap. You hear all that stuff about Lord Luis saving us?
Oh my god, this is Berserk, but I'm a twink. I have a little girl fairy. I have a small femme fairy. Like, I don't know, it just reminds me of something out of Berserk, like just this entire situation. Except it was more like being the super traumatized person that gets dragged around for most of Berserk.
Hey, you okay? You still got all your limbs attached?
No, all my limbs fell off.
Well, at least they didn't figure out our mission. Definitely could have gone worse.
Are you alright?
Are you alright?
Oh, that's voice too?
Been worse. And from the sounds of it, you're about the same.
She's cute. Oh no, she's cute.
You do know that if anyone finds out who we really are, it's all over, right? The mission's more important than either of our lives. If we screw this up, there's no going back.
I don't know about you, but my life's super important. Oh, hey, Specky. Ah, yes, the mission. I know all about the mission.
Think we'll make it?
You don't look hurt, though, so good news. You can move, right? I was thinking we should find a place where we can see the whole area. Basic controls. Some actions you can perform and their corresponding controls are displayed in the bottom of the screen. They can also use the mini-map to see which way to go. You can view tutorials you've seen before in the main menu.
Let's go. Stop!
Wait, I'm sensing something close. Don't move.
Watch
Unknown.
out.
Sandworm Vama. Yeah, these look especially dangerous, so watch out. I don't think they've noticed this yet, though. Face Sight. Ooh, Face Sight. Press L2 to use Face Sight. This ability lets you see what Gallica senses in the environment. When you see an enemy you've never confronted before, it will show up as unknown. Prepare as best you can.
Okay. Run! Strong ones ahead. We gotta be careful.
Ah!
We don't have much health left. Don't go too hard. You can't die on us. You're all we have.
Fantasy is dead?
So, fantasy is only fiction, is it?
Oh, she has a little armor on her. That's cute.
Okay. They look pretty tough. Careful now. Strong ones ahead. They look pretty tough. Careful now.
A fairy who accompanies a traveling boy on his journey, doubling as his chaperone for a special mission. Her diminutive size excludes her from participating physically in battles, but her special fairy traits allow her more proficiency than traveling boy when it comes to sensing magla and knowing magic. Though she can become heated when her personal values are tested, she is a reassuring traveling companion. Okay, I thought I was gonna get in a turn-based battle, which is not the case, apparently. Fantasy isn't dead, I swear! No! I don't want Fantasy to die!
Look!
Whew. Well, that was disempowering. I don't feel very strong at all. I feel like I'm dying. I like a little struggle. Oh, a game jam? What's the game jam called?
You do remember what we're here to do, right?
Refresh my memory.
Right. What am I doing again?
Oh, I don't know. The mission that's more important than our own lives? First, we get to the royal capital and get you enlisted as a guardsman at the army's recruitment center. This could decide the fate of the whole country. We either do our jobs or we die. And if it's all the same to you, I'd rather stay alive. So we've got to see this mission through. Come on. We don't want the sun to go down on us in the wastes. Let's pull ourselves together and get back on the road. You know what they say. Anxiety breeds the world's cruelest monsters. I mean, fairies say that at least.
Huh.
I can at least cast my usual spell for you. It's the small comforts, right?
You have like a camping spell?
Right.
It's as though magic is playing directly in my mind. The effects of Gallica's magic is inspiring.
Music was the first magic this world ever knew, after all. Makes the road a little easier.
Oh, instead of wearing headphones. Halloween tabletop game jam. That sounds interesting.
Look! Over there!
That's a road, isn't it? What a relief. Grand Trad is already in sight.
Let's go.
Almost there. Let's keep moving and try to stay out of sight.
Everything's pretty standard.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was already comparing this to Persona 5, like, even before actually touching it. And then being reminded of the thing that made Persona 5 so different than almost any other JRPG at the time. Especially, like, a high-budget one. The stealth mechanic.
I don't like this. If it's useful, I say grab it.
So it's funny that my first power in this game is just the ability to see threats far enough to avoid them. I mean, I could easily be like, oh, this is just detective vision from Batman. I mean, that's had an effect on the industry too. I didn't know that Mercedes McQuast was in this game. Don't worry, only Mega Man nerds got that reference. Uh-oh, this is bad. Oh, anime cutscene, so I can't avoid it.
Not good! Run for it!
Oh my god, those monsters are such bad 3D.
This land of 8 tribes and 3 nations, all blessed by the power of magic. The United Kingdom of Uchronia. The year is 785. Uchronia is shaken to the core by the sudden death of its king. Anxiety breeds dissent among the tribes. Disparities tear them apart, and no mortal mind remembers the heroic tales upon which their land was built. By this story of fantasy, may this faded world be painted anew.
A great seeker, bearer of fantasy empowered. Hear my wish, and come forth from my epoch of glory to grant me thine... grace.
Whoa, just look!
Oh no, this is an Atlas game, don't worry. But I neither expect, necessarily, nor want every game under a publisher to have the same fucking artistic, like, perspective.
Get on with it, then! Drop the dog! Hang him dead! Please! I've done nothing wrong! Lying dog! Don't try to
Oh my god,
deny
there's
it.
dog people.
You trample the law for the fun of it!
I mean, I would do that. I would trample the law for the fun of it.
You will hang by the neck until dead!
That's sick. Wow, they're showing it?
Yeah!
Oh, okay, they're not showing it yet.
There's no way that crowd was going to listen to anything a Paribus said.
Such a shame. Might you spare some coin
Bless you.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Hurry.
Oh yes, don't go to homeless people or all they'll
street
crowd
smarts?
you.
Come on, kid. Look, we're not tourists here. We gotta stay focused.
Right.
You noticed back on the wagon? You might be the only Elder here, in the whole city even.
So Eldas are normal humans?
The capital's incredible. Just look at all the different tribes. Diversity out in the countryside. Not that it's very balanced. I see more Clamars and Roussants than anyone else. Which means a dopey Elder kid's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. Try to keep your head down, okay?
That's a very interesting passive way of giving exposition.
Hey, did you hear what they're saying about His Majesty? They say it wasn't illness at all. I heard it was foul play, assassination.
Shh, careful who hears you say that.
It is fascinating that I do have the same color eyes. It is a coincidence that I certainly noticed. But it's also the same color eyes as Aoi from Wonder Egg Priority. And I recognize that blue and yellow go really well together, so I'm a blue hair protagonist with blue and yellow heterochromia is actually a very sound design decision. Kind of like how the trans flag, you'll find those colors in a lot of places, not necessarily because someone was trying to slip a trans flag in a thing, but just because those colors complement well together. Not that I'm complaining, that I feel so represented.
But it's just like the prince, isn't it? They say he was attacked in the dead of night. A war of succession is coming, I tell you.
Sounds like monsters have been prowling the countryside. They're sending the guard out to deal with them. The army's really gone to hell. It's a far cry from when we had Count Luis at the helm, I'll tell you that much.
Hard to see how the nation can come back from this.
We'd not have to ask if the prince was still alive.
Time?
The king dead, his son stricken. Are there none left to bear the weight of the crown?
We've done all in our power, but not even the kingdom's best. The saint could purify this affliction.
Over 10 years he has languished under this curse. How much longer can his body hold out? No doubt His Highness would protest. But since he cannot, we have no choice. For the man who cursed His Highness and murdered our king, there can be no mercy. I never thought I would have to ask this of you. But there are so few of us left now. There is no one else to turn to.
So I'm not royalty. I thought it was secretly royalty.
Will you infiltrate the military to deliver a message to our contact there?
Oh.
This is your mission. For all our sakes, you cannot fail.
I see.
Hey, you listening?
Yeah, totally.
Oh.
Completely.
I guess I can't blame you for feeling nostalgic. You and the prince were pretty close.
Oh, so we were gay together.
Anyway, getting to the capital was only the beginning. Now comes the real high-stakes part. You gotta go get enlisted, so you can meet up with our operative. Remember, nobody here knows who we are. Nobody here knows the prince might still have a claim to the throne. That means if we get busted, that's it. Nobody's gonna save us. Step 1. Let's figure out where the recruitment center is. Shouldn't be too hard, considering the need for soldiers.
Wow. I'm definitely doing something I would never do in Flesh Space. Enlist in the military.
So?
Do you know where we're going? Feel free to admit that you're lost and ask me for advice. Press R1 to open the local map. If you're unsure what to do, try pressing Triangle. Gallica always has good ideas, or such he thinks. Press up in safe areas like in towns to save your progress.
Whatever will I do?
An elder? Here?
Huh?
Shady woman.
So you?
An elder, huh? Pretty unusual in these parts. Oh, not trying to be rude, just mind yourself. The city ain't the friendliest to us inferiors. Does that bother you? I'm fine. Papyrus tribe or not, I can knock those full sits away from idle stay. Oh, she's cute. I like her.
Damn.
Tall ladies, tall ladies, tall ladies, tall ladies. I feel like this game's UI and stuff is almost over-designed. Like, it's trying to show off so much.
The new model's out now. I could be out there slinging spells like a master if I had one of those.
I guess that's the big city for you. Everyone and their mother has a magic igniter. So many different types, too.
What's a magic igniter?
What's a magic igniter?
See? There's a couple in the window. Like an instrument plays a tune, an igniter casts magic. Pretty hard to come by out in the countryside. Can't imagine what it's like having to wave around some shiny stick to use magic.
Oh, right, because magic comes to you so, naturally.
Me? I can whip out magic anytime I like. And I can even see the magla in the air. Though, I'm not exactly an archmage.
Wonders never cease.
Oh, it's a shady woman.
A fairy and an elden child. Are you new to our fair city?
Oh, shit.
Well, I suggest you keep a low profile. Trust me when I say you don't want to catch the eyes of the lords and ladies.
Oh, God.
But I'm getting ahead of myself. I run this humble shop. Are you in the market for an igniter?
I don't even know if I have money.
Here's something that might catch a foreigner's eye. This is modeled after the royal scepter and would make the perfect souvenir.
No thanks.
No thanks.
What a shame.
How would you even know what the royal scepter looks like to begin with? You've really never heard of it. Wow. Where do I even start?
I'm assuming it's the most powerful magic igniter and only the king can use it?
A symbol and instrument of the crown's sovereignty. Passed down through generations. If you believe the legends, it houses magic. World-shattering power. You might call it the world's most potent magic igniter. And in the king's hands, it was enough of a deterrent to stave off invasion.
Now he's dead, with no living heir either.
Tragic, isn't it? Kingly magic is of little use without a king. You picked a bad time to visit, boy. I don't know why you're here, but there's trouble brewing.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll keep that in mind.
A word of caution, then. Your survival is your own responsibility.
Hi, STEM System. How are you? Oh, the goofy running animation? Yeah, it's very earnest.
Well, that was unnecessarily ominous. She has a point, though. We'll need to be careful. Anyway, we don't have time to hang around chatting with the locals. We've got a recruitment office to find.
We should have just asked her. I guess the over-designing of the, like, UI and everything is
What's
part
up
of the
there?
whole, like, storybooky thing. It's kind of like the game equivalent of what some manga do. Wow, that's pretty cool. Is this a loading screen? I'm kind of here for it. Some manga kind of make the panels of the actual manga itself. I guess comic books do this too. You might see this in like a Deadpool thingy, for example, but I think it's much more interesting when you see it in a subtle way that's not so much wink wink nod, but more like it uses the surrounding accoutrements to like build upon what is already there, especially in like a setting or vibes based way. Something simple in a video game form would be if you have the dynamic borders turned on when you play Undertale, the borders of your screen for battles and your menu will match what area you're in, which is like some ludonarrative harmony, right? And in the similar way, it being all the stuff being so stylized in this game and them kind of doubling down on the thematic weight of it being a story and fantasy actually makes it so that it's not just these are the brackets that we have the words between, it's these words on this screen have been scrawled into the storybook of the page of this world that we're interacting with. And like, even by starting the game, we kind of make a contract on treating this fantasy along a strict line of fantasy versus reality, and kind of finding out what we think of, I guess, fictional works. Although that's a really tall order. That's a really tall order. It's pretentious as hell. This game could totally fail at its mission and just gesture at the concept of like omnidimensionality in fiction and in video games. It could just end up being a failed experiment, but I'm here to see if it fails. I was hoping you'd blend in with the crowd and no one would notice that you were an elder, but the people here have sharper eyes than I thought. We don't want to draw attention, but hiding your tribe is only going to make it worse. People may insult you, but do your best to stand tall. Easier said than done, I'm sure, but if it's for the sake of the mission, then... But it's for the sake of the mission. On that note, the recruitment center we're looking for should be just ahead.
What are you playing at?
I'm out of ideas.
Beg pardon?
Excellent.
Here's the recruitment center. Oh, they're literally calling me slurs. Wow. Okay, this game has me being called bad words because of who I am. Well, that sucks. Some animations make it look like a chore or just for survival, but this feels playful. Oh yeah. It does kind of remind me of just like pretending to run super seriously as a kid. Oh, that's really cute as she stays on my shoulder when I run. Sometimes. That was interesting.
Let's go see.
Fascinating. I love how Undertale, the name changes at some points when not full screen. Also love when the fauna is used to tell the story. Yeah. There's a manga that's getting an anime adaptation. I'm curious on if they'll be able to do some of that sort of stuff that I was talking about. Which had Atelier. It blends the like diegetic parts of the art with the panels all the time apparently. So I'm wondering if they'll try to translate that into the anime. Chances are they won't, but it's always interesting to see how an adaptation might handle something so meta.
That must be the recruitment center.
As much as I absolutely adore diegetic HUDs, especially the harder to make ones for non-cyborgs. Oh yeah, like in I think Dead Space was like the first one that was like really like, ooh yes. Like I think that's for me Dead Space was the first one that was peak, cause it did it so completely, I guess. And I mean, certain things could have been way better if it didn't have to be diegetic, but at the same time, like the amount of clarity that it had, despite that, was actually really good, and also lended itself to the immediacy of like fiddling with your supplies and stuff in real time where you could get attacked by an enemy. It was worth the trade-off, is what I'm saying.
I'll let you take it from here. It should be pretty straightforward. Oh, and if they start asking questions, just be as honest as you can. Lying will only make us more suspicious. So long as you don't compromise the mission, you're fine. Good luck in there. Knock 'em dead.
She's so encouraging.
Okay, you got this.
Honestly, I can't. She's like a little big sis. I love it. See you, Specky.
A blue blood, are you? The army's no place for velvet-swaddled lordlings. Why are you here? Perhaps your noble family collapsed under its own weight. Is that it?
Lineage seems a strange measure for a soldier's worth. I'm looking to enlist. Is that enough for you or not?
An uppity one, aren't you? Fine, lordling. Welcome to the Guard, where it'll be your privilege to die screaming and bloody in service of your country.
God, dude.
Mark my words. War will turn your arrogance to piss. When your corpse is plucked from the mud, do try to look patriotic.
Rousing words, Captain. You think threats will buy loyalty? No wonder nobody respects the Guard anymore. But I'm here now, so perhaps the kingdom isn't a lost cause.
Insolent pup! You will learn your place.
Well, you were just talking shit, dude.
Don't. The healers have enough on their plates already.
Be gone, and be thankful you're still in one piece. All right, next. Hurry it up.
Boy.
An elder? I thought your kind was long gone.
Oh no, he has he has horns. He has horns. I was like, oh, he has normal ears. And it's like, that's not the only thing to pay attention to.
Age 18. An orphan, too. The army can always use more of those.
Oh, the army loves orphans.
So, what brings you to enlist?
I'm just so bored.
I just want to kill some time.
And a little kingdom-sponsored bloodshed will spice up your life, eh? I know your type. I suppose this work attracts degenerates.
Oh my god, it knows I'm gay!
Are you crazy?
So, what can you bring to our beloved corps? Any skills to speak of?
I've always been lucky.
I've always been pretty lucky.
I asked for your skills, boy. Right, last order of business. Make your mark or sign your name if you're actually literate.
Well, I can sign my name, but that doesn't mean I know how to read. Oh god. I'm so bored.
You know your letters, do you? We'll get some use out of you yet.
Yeah, I know my whole entire alphabet.
All right, lad. Welcome to the Guard.
Yes!
I'm sure you heard about the monster sightings, so stay sharp out there. We're short-handed as it is, so be a good lad and try not to get killed on your first deployment.
If you insist.
You can pick up your kit at reception. Standard issue guardsman armor and igniter. Kingdom property. So if you break it, it's coming out of your commission.
I
On
get
your way
money?
Up to. Next.
Wow, they'll take any degenerate off the street. It's just my name in Japanese. Oh, but you're probably being sarcastic since it's also the name of the fucking the main character's hair and one of his eyes. What a long line. Guess we have no choice but to wear a turn.
Let's hurry.
Well, that wasn't too much trouble now, was it? We better get in line though, or they'll start to suspect something.
Whoa.
Ooh, he has a big sword. You enlisted as well? The line starts behind me. If so, or was that something else you wanted? Are you really a noble? I take you overheard my interview? Yes, guilty as charged. I am a noble, but just as a countryside son of a lord. My family is of no real consequence. Well, let's just say I have my own circumstances. I'm volunteering to fight in order to protect the kingdom. Foolish or not. Wow, press X to get in line. Yes, my name is Blue.
I heard they get sightings.
It's my personal name, and Thornbite is my code name? Streamer name? Cool name. My Super Sentai transformation name. My lovers don't lovingly whisper Thornbite in my ear. They whisper, Blue, Blue, Blue. Alright, they got sightings.
Those huge monsters. You think that's why we're low on soldiers? Wish they'd have told us that.
Damn, that dude was crying. That was a good voice actor.
What did they call them? Something like, Huma?
Next.
What?
Another Clamar. Wait. No. You don't look like the others.
Oh my god, are you about to be racist already?
Surely not. An elder? It's the first of your kind I've seen.
Please don't make a big deal about it.
Move it. There's a priority around here.
I was in line.
We're arming squires and children with igniters now. Waste of good gear. It's better off in my hands. Give it here.
You're literally in line.
Brute force. Crude insults. The world is yours for the taking.
Care to say that again, boy?
We all have our reasons to enlist. Now get back in line.
Oh, another high and mighty Clamar, is it?
Oh my god, dude.
You think your pretty words will measure up to pure Roussant strength?
Wow, this is a really specious society.
Oh, forget the tribes. This is a matter of pride. Now, you owe us both an apology.
Come on, no fighting in the ranks.
bitch.
Sorry for making a scene. You alright?
Thanks.
Thanks. You didn't have to do that.
Just felt like stepping in. Don't worry about it. Well, see you around. Try not to die out there.
I'll do my best. You too.
Don't make my job any harder, please. Here, your igniter.
Ah, yes, don't make your job harder by being,
These days, most come with
people
their
being
own
an
magic
asshole.
crystals. So with practice, anyone can use magic. To an extent, anyway. It's not the sort of thing you can master in a day. For now, newbies like you best focus on surviving.
The thing around his neck is apparently a magic igniter. The captain I spoke with earlier had one too. They must take on different forms, like I saw in the main street.
Protect it with your life.
A map?
Wow, that's a real map. It's dangerous to even chart the wilds, but this is full of details. Only the military could pull this together.
Listen up, striplings.
You're just gonna add links to the end of everything to infantilize us?
My name is Captain Klinger, and as of this moment, you miserable lot are under my command. I'm sure you've all heard about our forces being tied up with the funeral proceedings for His Majesty. But if you think you're on cushy security detail, think again. First, you will be deployed to a fortress at the northern border, where you will be trained into true guards. Our veterans there will teach you the one thing you need to master if you're to survive. Pain.
Perfect. That's exactly where our contacts hold up.
Enjoy tonight's sleep, because it's the last full night's rest you'll get. Dismissed!
I mean, the military does suck, regardless of what dimension you live in.
Look at all the other recruits. They really are desperate for new blood. Oh, right. I know you don't know what our contact looks like yet, but he'll know you by your sword. He'll also know right away why we've come. And don't worry, I'll recognize him. Well, the charming captain is probably right. We should get some rest before tomorrow. Hey. You awake?
Shit, ow, fuck. These headphones are broken and the fucking, the fucking mouthpiece swung and hit me in the teeth. But I was just getting very lewd thoughts. That was a perfect way to spell them from my mind, I guess. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm awake.
Sorry to bug you. Look, I just have a lot on my mind. Can't seem to fall asleep. I'd heard about what it was like in the capital, but still, when you hear and see all this prejudice out in the open, it's a lot. You okay?
Never gets easier.
It never gets easier.
Yeah, I could tell. Try to put it behind you, okay? Some people are even saying it's the lesser tribe's fault that the monsters are showing up at all.
Oh, scapegoating. Oh yeah, this game definitely is trying to reflect real world bullshit.
These are the same kind of people who burned down your village, remember?
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but still. The prince was kind to take you in. He cared more about who you were than what you were. I can see why you'd want to repay him. Oh, speaking of, he's the one who gave you that book, right? Can I see it?
Sure, I guess.
I gotta say, I've been curious. Thanks. It's what you call a fantasy story, right?
But the fantasy is the modern day?
So it's a fantasy world made up by the author. The prince loved those kinds of stories. Okay, let's see. It says the young traveler was amazed by the world he saw. In this world, there is only one tribe. All people accept each other, and no soul is born into discrimination.
Oh, sorry, that can't be our world.
Wow. So not even any fairies? I guess less differences means less to argue over. In such a world, there is no need for sorcery. A megapolis is built through learning and labor. Towers of glass that reach the heavens. Safe nights with no dark shadows. Busy streets well traveled. And in the laws of these emotionally satisfied people, it reads, all lives are equal.
Fucking lies.
Whoa. I see. No magic, no tribal conflict, and equality for all? It really does sound like a fantasy, but it's strange to feel envious of a fictional world.
Hey, are you asleep already? You know how hard it is for me to turn these pages on my own?
Well, guess I'll just read more later. Good night.
Very mysterious. I wonder what the calendar in this game is going to lend itself to. Because I don't know why we need to know the date yet. In Persona games, it usually eventually comes that like by a certain date, certain things will happen. And of course, eventually there'll be the last deadline, which is like, you know, God will destroy the world by this date if you don't stop them. So I'm assuming it'll be like this many days till war breaks out or something. Ooh, pretty.
Shouldn't you be resting? I'm fine. In fact, I'm glad we have this chance to talk. I've been reading, and I hope that someday we can make our kingdom like the place in this book. You said it was some kind of fantasy novel, didn't you? Our lives are decided at birth, by tribal purity, or by the differences that make us who we are. I don't want that to be the world we live in. The Elder here are a perfect example. If you'd not sheltered me, I would never have survived. And yet, they burned your home down. It's tragic, and no one should have to suffer so. Someone needs to fix... You okay? Don't push yourself so hard.
Oh, God.
Reality is much too cruel. I know that. But I'll fight it. I'll fight to the end. I'm a prince. But I need to be a hero. One worthy of the throne. A hero? One who can lead. A beacon who will pierce the darkness when all seems lost. My father taught me that. In his stories, the kingdom was full of legendary heroes. So I can't give up. In my ideal world, people can believe in their future. Their birth doesn't matter. Not that I expect it will be easy. I believe in you. Familiar words. When I'm down, when I struggle, you're always there to help me through it. Let's do it. You'll be a hero. Trust me. I won't give up either. Trust me.
The prince is a perfect femboy, by the way. Got thorns all across their chest. And electricity is not magic, I would say. Especially comparatively in this world, because there's, I guess you could say, like, appliances could be like those wands, but there are also people who can naturally use magic, like fairies and stuff.
Until arrival at the northern border fort, one day remains.
Ah, fuck.
Let's see.
I wonder how far we've come. Let's find our destination, the northern border fort. You can view the information about your surroundings in the world map, highlight the selection you want to learn about.
Let's see here.
We're camping there tonight.
Hey, don't forget.
This is where our contact should be. So hopefully we find them quickly. All we can do for now is rest. We got a big day tomorrow. Whoa. The plot
carriage
thickens.
transporting the new recruits arrives at its destination.
Those screens reminded me of fucking D. Gray Man
The
cover
northern
art.
border fort. The towering fortress was built during the Annex War in the mountains at the edge of the territory. Even now, soldiers are sent there for its strategic importance to the royal capital and to combat the rising waves of monsters. Fresh-faced soldiers disembark from their coaches at the foot of a steep ascent to the fort, the first of many uphill battles.
Valkyria Chronicles looking ass.
Finally. Can hardly feel my legs.
Wait, you saw horses being abused in the game or in real life?
Listen well, you lackwits. The battlefield is no place to sit on your asses, and the border front is always a battlefield. The call to arms could sound at any time. Stand to, curs. You have the honor to serve at the command of Captain Klinger, war hero, tactician, master of arms. When I earned rank in the trenches, forged in the blood of my
Spare us this drivel. Say, friend, I'm curious. What is it about that book that's captivated you so?
A world with no magic.
It's interesting. It tells the tale of a world with no Magla arts. A peaceful one.
A world with no Magla arts would be better, would it? I admit, I'm intrigued. So it's describing a better world. A utopia, perhaps. I'm something of a reader myself, but that's not like any book I've read.
Oh.
You know, when the late king took the throne, he was quite the idealist himself. He made grand claims about unifying the people under his rule. Never managed to do it in the end, of course. Reform takes more than high-minded, eloquent speeches. Maybe he was too blind to see that himself.
Listen to you.
Too idealist.
A babe with his first sword thinking he knows better than a king. Keep your mouth shut. No one cares what you think.
Wasn't talking to you.
Nobody asked you.
Exactly.
Something to say? Go on. I'm listening.
Is it a fight you want?
If it's a fight you want, draw your blade.
Didn't think you'd just challenge me straight out. You've got guts for a lesser tribesman.
Lesser these nuts.
Well, Clemar, I'll let it go this time. But only because I like your friend. Next time, keep your complaining to yourself.
That's the last thing I need. Though I suppose I deserved it in part, speaking ill of the dead and all.
Were you? I didn't take it as you speaking ill of the dead. Oh, I guess saying the king didn't know everything.
My mouth tends to get ahead of my thoughts sometimes. Although, I'm glad a bad habit seems to have drawn us together. Oh, never got round to an introduction. I'm Stroll. Leon Stroll, son of the Count of Harlia. And you are?
I'm away.
That's my name.
Don't wear it out.
I have that right? It's got a certain weight to it. For what it's worth, my title doesn't mean much. Here and now, we're peers and equals.
Aww.
By the skin of my teeth! Now, where was I? Right, as for you, fresh meat.
Someone help!
Oh no, it's a fading
Is
soldier.
that a soldier? Hey, speak to me, man. What happened?
Listen. Stay on guard. It's too...
He's unconscious.
Not one of mine. Must be one of the fort's guard. Those damn vultures across the border. They must have heard about the king's death.
Ooh, look, the fear of God's in his eyes.
Anyway, to the fort. Double time. I'll stay behind to see to the poor bastard's wounds.
No, you're not. You're gonna fucking run like
You want
a
us to go on
fucking
ahead?
coward.
Alone? Shouldn't we at least send a team?
I knew fear would take you at the first step. Tail. Are you a traitor to the cause?
Oh my god,
The
dude.
guard has no place for cowards. You are part of His Majesty's Royal Army. Swallow your fear, fight with pride, and we'll all have medals this time tomorrow.
He's right. We're warriors. Up there is our first chance at glory and riches. Damned if I'm gonna waste it.
Seriously?
Let's go!
Alright.
Damn it. Well, I suppose this is what we signed up for. Onward, to the fort then.
Hey, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Oh wait, she has armor on now too. Oh my god, that's so cool.
It's hard to explain, but it's like there's a stench in the air, and it's getting stronger.
Hey, did something happen? Wait.
Oh wait,
is
I
that
can
a
see it too.
fairy? Did you catch it yourself?
Just like magic in the air. She's with me.
She's with me.
Yes, and I have a name, by the way. It's Gallica.
So you travel together? You've stayed well hidden for quite a while.
Well, I didn't want anyone making a fuss. But we've got bigger problems right now. I can't shake this feeling. We gotta be careful.
There's literally mana floating in the air. Yeah, I can see it.
Agreed. I'll follow orders, but I'm not about to let this armchair general send me to my death. Let's take a moment, then head in once we're prepared. I assume you know how to use an igniter properly?
I'm not so sure. He's never used one before. I mean, he's a commoner, so not much chance to.
Fair enough. Well, just stay behind me and you'll be all right. I swear I won't let you die. I'm with you.
Strahl, a brave warrior trying to conceal his nobility, has become your ally.
Oh, this is bad. I didn't think you'd actually have to fight anyone. I just hope our contact in the fort's okay. Let's keep our guard up and hope we find out. Okay?
Well, it's an unexpected turn of events, but don't lose sight of our mission, okay? Are allies inside here?
Yep.
Yeah, that's my guess. Somehow we've got to find them. You're running with such purpose. What was that you were talking about? You said something about your ally?
Actually...
Oh, it's nothing. I'll just worry about the soldiers inside. Well, whatever the case, the situation concerns me too. Let's go inside. Guy, it feels like I'm about to go into, someone's cognition in Persona 5. Same framing. The son and heir to the throne of King Hythlodulius V More than 10 years ago, a mysterious attack in the royal palace left him afflicted with a deadly curse. The curse took its toll on his body, and though he barely endured torment, his recovery was interrupted several years later when he and his closest aides suddenly vanished from the castle at a trace. The king has also all possible means to find him, but was ultimately unsuccessful. He was formally declared deceased 3 years ago, and a royal funeral was held in his honor.
This is...
Those are big doors. Oh my god, look at all the bodies. So much death. Oh gosh.
There it is. That's a human.
That's a human? Excuse you?
Stand your ground! Charging! Pursue!
We have to help the survivors.
That's very confusing. I'm feeling very much like when we opened up Scarlet Nexus and they were like, ah yes, others.
Oh. Damn it.
Damn, this is horrific. So many dead.
Oh.
Gyrus, I hope you're safe.
Hurry.
There's no time to waste. If we look, we'll find some that still draw breath.
This is bad.
Get back, we've got company.
What?
What's the deal with this one? It looks similar to that monster from earlier. It's smaller, but is that a human too? It looks like we're gonna have to fight it. Wait, if it's a human, do we even stand a chance? All the more reason we can't let it be. Trust me, I have some history with them.
What do you think?
Besides, our only hope right now is to join forces and strike as one. Would you not agree? Alright, I agree. I'm glad you got your wits about you. With you here, we might get through this.
Got it?
Look, we don't stand a chance fighting this thing if we attack it separately. We can only fight if we work out a plan together.
Take care of it, please.
Understand? The two of us working as one. I'll trust your judgment on the timing of the attack.
Things will be fine.
We can't get
I
sloppy.
fight for my own
But still,
justice.
don't let your guard down.
Okay. Okay. In squad battles, press square to attack your equipped weapon and triangle to use skills, which consume MP. Performing an action will expend one turn icon. Look at the top of the screen and turn all icons on the when all icons are consumed, the opponent's round begins. On hard, enemies receive an additional turn icon in most battles.
The power of fire! I won't hold back! Burn! Oh, please!
This is like the weirdest rap ever. Oh, wield arms. I thought I said wild arms.
A tough one.
Oh, you've done it.
Badly wounded. Can anyone hear
I'm
him?
sorry.
No, not now.
Everyone.
Get up.
Burn to us!
Yeah?
Can't afford another fight like that.
That was hard. Humans are strong. I kind of like this game.
Looks like we're safe. All right.
Whew, we pulled through somehow. We're alive. And that's all I can ask. Let's press forward while we still can. Yeah, that felt like playing old school Resident Evil, getting a scuffle with a monster you never fought before, and then, oh shit.
Wait.
Oh shit, I need a green herb or I'll die. Hold it!
Be careful.
There's another one. If it spots us, this could get nasty.
Hey!
But we have the element of surprise. We can catch you off guard if we strike now, right?
Okay.
We won't lose this
We're
fight.
here to stop you!
Let's go! Fire!
The power of fire!
I can take it.
Tougher than I thought.
I won't hold back! Burn!
That settles that.
Yeah, this game is not pulling any
That should do it.
punches. I am on hard
That should
mode,
come in
to be
handy.
fair, but
Look at it.
I like it. I really like that feeling of being on the edge. I love edging. Oh, hello.
Here we go.
Not too many.
Let's do this.
Don't let your guard down.
Burn to us! Not done yet.
Ragged fur.
The next one will fall just as easy. Not bad. I feel stronger.
Level up! I can distribute the points the way I want. Okay.
We made short work of them.
He's still breathing, but he's badly wounded. Anelda, don't bloody touch me! I'm in bad enough spot without you making it worse. That monster showing up was your fault, wasn't it? Bad luck follows you people. Ah, of course it's how it ends. Damn it. Damn it all to bloody hell. Wow. That's some strong ass racism.
Run.
You're so young. A fresh recruit. Get away from here now. That thing's up ahead.
No.
There's still soldiers left alive, right? We can't just run and leave them be. You're too late, that monster. We can't just run away. Stay away from that thing. Departed soldier.
Damn it!
Oh, damn, Elda. I knew this fort was cursed. That's why that horror attacked.
Hey.
Calm down. It's not his fault the human appeared. You must know that, surely. But everyone's dead. They all have families. Help me, Elda. I don't care anymore. I don't want to die.
Damn it. Hold on.
Wait.
You
two, you're searching for someone?
I get it now.
That's right. I thought as much. Now it makes sense. Why hide from me? I trust you have a good reason. Well, to tell you the truth.
What?
That cry. Is it the human from earlier?
Was that?
It sounded like it came from the top of that tower. Maybe there's still soldiers fighting in there. We'll handle our personal matters later. Rescuing any survivors takes precedence. To the top of the tower.
Let's hurry.
It'd be nice to get, yes, swag.
If it's useful, I say grab it.
We won't lose this
The
fight.
first move's ours. Burn to us. Tougher than I thought.
Unscathed triumph.
No way I'm stopping here.
Broken igniter.
Let's push through. This is our chance. I'll give it my way.
Oh shit! Yeah! When engaging in squad battle against a stunned enemy, one party member will perform an advantageous initial attack. In addition, enemies remain stunned at the start of battle. Be sure to take advantage of this.
The power! Not done yet.
The next one will fall just as easy.
I think that's all of them.
I hear a doggy. Old coin.
Alright, there's that. Let's give him a fight.
That's us, and we'll win this.
Get in there and finish him
Burn to us!
Oh, and that makes it so battles can go so much quicker.
Be careful.
This is our chance.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it feels good. Okay. Okay, I didn't think turn-based battles could get better.
Looks like it's not safe yet. Stay alert.
Let's push through. Let's give him a fight.
This could be our chance.
In one fell swoop.
Hold it!
Took one out.
That'll do.
Keep it up.
I mean, they have a turn, but they're stunned.
The power of fire!
You're kind of overusing the fire, but I'm
The next one will
kind
fall just as easy.
of happy.
Come on! Okay, let's give this all we've got.
Settle this quick. Last one!
Nice.
Stroll always comes through.
Let's go. Fire! Through here?
I feel like there's something that would normally run away, maybe?
Burn to us!
I really need to give him some MP.
I think I'm getting used to it. Okay. I'll strive for greater heights.
Looks like we're safe for now.
I should probably take the Dark Souls route of leveling smartly with stat allocation and focus mostly on HP and defense for a little bit instead of dropping stuff into luck, especially since I'm playing on hard mode and don't want to get fucking bodied super duper easy. So I haven't found a save point. The roof is just up ahead. I'm gonna have a moment. If I'm honest, I have my doubts there could be survivors. Facing that monster together might not even save anyone at this point. But I'm gonna do it anyway. That's a noble thing to do. Isn't that just throwing your life away? Why do this if it's possibly for nothing? Because if there's a chance that there's even one survivor, then I'll not be the noble who runs away. I can never live with myself. This time?
Hey.
And you plan to forge ahead despite the risks? I take it you refuse to die until you found whoever it is you're searching for. I won't let you die up there.
That's true, but...
Well, that's true, but I just can't let you die up there. I'm touched. Even in a situation like this, you worry more about others than yourself. If I run now, I'll never deliver the message and the prince will die. There'll be no choice but to press on.
I'm heading out.
Well then, lend me your strength. Sure thing, buddy.
What do you think?
This feeling, I knew it. The human from earlier is up there. What should we do?
You're right.
You're right, we can't help anyone if we just charge in and get ourselves killed. Let's make sure we're prepared before we head on. Magala-pill. Magala-pilled.
Ready? Yep.
God, I love dark fantasy. Oh no, it's a human!
Damn. Such tremendous power.
It's horrible. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
We can't let it get away with this. We have to hold it off somehow.
Harold.
Darned humans. It was all because of them.
We'll just have to make it work.
No, the mission depends on our survival.
Vile monster. You're mine! Burn to ash!
1 damage?
What's going on? It didn't even flinch.
Damn it all! I'm not going down like this!
You're barely holding it together.
How is it this strong?
What more can I do? The prince, my best friend. I need to save him. I can't die in a place like this. And yet...
I'll distract it. You two, run!
But...
Above all else, I am a noble. And a noble defends his people, no matter the cost.
I thought we were equals.
Farewell. If you would repay me, then live.
You're barely holding together. You gotta heal up quick.
Wasn't enough.
What? No! Please, say something!
Stroll! Don't be a fool. Just run before it...
Oh, fate-saddled child. Oh, anguished traveler. Thy fate is crown-twined, thy soul bound for the throne. The future yet unknown dawns in this moment. Thy path may fork, but only one may be chosen. Confront the threat before thee, or die here in obscurity. Now choose.
I choose.
So be it. Heroism lies in the soul that stands firm against its fears. Power awaits thy command. The time is come to awaken the hero within. Engrave thy very heart.
mean, I don't mind some transformation. I'm not a persona, I'm a Digimon! Would...
What the... Anyway, we've got to find a way to fight back.
Sick!
Wind! Alright, that did the trick.
Oh my god, it did Garu. Oh wait, shit, what? My own power doesn't even compare. What's more, it can use magic despite its lack of an igniter.
Are you okay? If we don't push back, we're dead. Can't we fend off those attacks somehow?
Attack weak points. Certain enemies are weak to certain affinities. After you've hit one of those weaknesses, the word weak will be displayed. Hitting an opponent's weakness or scoring a critical hit against them will only decrease the turn icon by half.
Looks like it mainly attacks with the head wings and blade feet.
Archetype, raise defenses.
Seeker!
Seeker. Attack the wing or leg.
Scour!
That's it! Stay on
The
it!
freedom of a wanderer. Wind!
You hit their weakness! Nice dodge! Not like they could get you with that!
Seeker! Scour! Come on! Let's stay calm. Come forth, Royal Soul! Wind! Alright, how's that?
Devour.
Wait, what? It's healing?
Humans are so
Eating
treacherous.
To heal? We can't kill it fast enough! It's just gonna fix itself up no matter what we do! Pig! I can't believe it's eating from its own body! Can you knock those apples off?
Oh, haha. One doesn't do too much.
Seeker! Scour!
If we don't take out those apple things, I think we'll regret it. You know, maybe there's something I can do. Hey, can you let me handle this?
Have Gallica knock down apples to keep the foe from healing?
Understood?
Yes.
Leave it to me.
Oh, but that probably puts her in danger.
Now it can't heal itself anymore. Don't waste your chance. Get in there.
By this power. Wind!
Nice dodge. Not like they could get you with that.
Seeker!
Homo Gorlero. Homo Gorleo?
Let's go! Wind!
Day. I'm sure future battles will not be this easy.
By this power. Scour! Still here?
Nice dodge. Not like they could get you with that.
Seeker! Wind! A tough one. I won't hold back! Scour!
I feel like I just killed Adam, maybe? Although it looks kind of like a pomegranate. Galileo's apple.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Level up.
True power is born of the heart, a wish from which thy strength is drawn. Yet fear and anxiety always trail in such a wish's wake. Since time immemorial, those we call heroes have earned the title through this order. They pursued their wishes and boldly walked a path of virtue. What thou hast awakened is the true spirit of a hero. The power that lies dormant in all of us. The power to reforge the fear of the unknown into curiosity. If thou wouldst change the world by thine own hand, take this newfound power and venture forth. Thy journey shalt reveal thy soul's mission.
What was that voice?
And you! What was that power you used? You had a metal heart, and your whole body was... It was crazy! Look, that Stroll guy is still alive!
Stroll!
I'll
Stroll!
be damned. Someone actually survived.
That voice... Grius! Oh, thank goodness you're alive!
Oh, he's our
Gallagher,
contact?
You made it.
He's our man on the inside, the one I'm delivering the message to.
He's badly hurt. You, boy, lend me your shoulder. We'll need to carry him. The smell of blood will draw out the beasts. Let's not hang about.
Oh, so we're not particularly
The
safe.
lad's out cold, but he'll live. We should be fine if we take a moment's rest here.
Oh, you're a sight for sore eyes, Grius. Just wish it were under better circumstances.
We're both alive, and you can't ask for much better in these parts. Sorry I couldn't join you in the fray.
I totally thought that there was going to be like a transformation sequence a la Persona, but in all the promotional material I've seen for this game, and I guess the earlier trailers, I don't know if the latest trailer had it in it. I don't think it did. Actually, it was nice to see it, even though I expected there to be something like it, like the presentation and how it went about it. Very good execution. My Super Sentai 11 ass is very much pleased.
So, this is our newcomer, eh? How'd this boy manage to command power like that?
It's like nothing I've ever seen. Do you know anything about it?
I might. For now, the mission comes first.
Ah, right. I'd better just get straight to the message. Grius, you have a new mission. Avenge the king. And kill Luis Guillaburn.
Well, good. It's about damn time. Those scheming nobles haven't said so publicly, but every soldier knows it was nothing natural that killed the king. Damn that Luis. Couldn't stop at one royal, could he?
Oh, he did the prince too? I
Wait,
mean,
there's more.
poison the prince, not fuck
Prince
them.
is getting worse. We're running out of time. Here, look. I brought a treasure from the village. They called it a farsight mirror. You need to see the prince's condition for yourself.
Through the mirror lies the prince, deep in a slumber in the hidden village.
His Highness won't last much longer. Those thorns are thick enough to claim him.
Luis cast the curse, so killing him is the only way to lift it. If we wait any longer, you're just gonna crown a new king.
Can someone catch me
Can
up?
someone catch me up here?
About 15 years ago, a child enlisted in the army. But it wasn't his age that had people talking. It was his ruthless military genius. Hero to some, monster to others. Luis Guillaburn, a prodigal tactician and a master of Magla arts. Some said it was only a matter of time before he made general, the youngest the nations had.
Until he attacked the prince.
That night, when the prince's quarters were breached, it was no ordinary mage who cast that fatal curse. It was Luis Guillaburn himself.
And yet he lives?
But the son's death wasn't enough for him. Now he's got the father's blood on his hands. And if that king-slaying fiend ends up on the throne, we're all doomed.
But when we were exploring the royal capital, there were a lot more Luis supporters than I expected. How can they still trust him after all that?
Luis is cunning. He left no... Accuse him as you will, but the allegations wouldn't stick. All they could do was send him as far away as possible. A post in the middle of nowhere. Plenty of soldiers never believed the charges in the first place. When they look at him, they see a capable veteran unjustly made into the noble scapegoat. Most think the Royal Army was at its best when he was in charge. And in truth, it's hard to deny. Without him, we'd never have crushed the rebel uprising so quickly. Damn the man. But he's earned his titles. He's mastered the blade, magic, and he's clearly intelligent. To the masses who want change, he seems the savior they need.
If even you're that worried about him, this isn't going to be easy.
That's a hell of a mission. And I want in.
So that's your game, eh? Pretend to sleep, eavesdrop on the plan. You're a fool to give yourself away.
If you want my blood, then let your blade strike true. I'm not going to run. Not from you, and not from a chance to do what's right.
Look, Grius, he saved our lives back there. And it sounds like we could use the help. Seems like kind of a waste to kill him. Especially if he's volunteering.
Then answer me this.
I like your hustle.
The boy's
though.
all but a stranger to you, yet you risk your life to save him. Why?
I would live, fight, and die a noble, sir. To have done otherwise would betray my title, to say nothing of my heart.
There, I'm losing my edge. Make me regret this, and I will slay you where you stand.
You'll let him help us?
Right then. My life and sword are yours.
I want something other than your life and your sword, but we'll start with those.
As far as the rest of the world's concerned, you perished in that castle. You'll find the job ahead will be easier for a dead man. Your lives are kept only by the blades in your hands, and you'll raise them at my command.
We have to.
Quest start. Save Operation Save the Prince from the Death's Curse. Save the Prince from his curse and defeat Luis Guillaburn, the treasonous fiend who's not only attacked the prince, but murdered the king. Deadline unknown.
Luis will also be at the royal funeral. If we're not back to the capital by then, we lose our chance at his head. But no main roads. That'll mean checkpoints and questions. We're bound for a different route. We'll cut through the abandoned mine up ahead to save us going the long way round. For tonight, see to your wounds. We'll leave at first light. But I'm counting on you.
Garrus, the battle-hardened veteran, has become your ally.
Feels like the mission is finally starting. Let's set up our camp then.
Now, we should finally be able to get some rest. This your first deployment, boy? Thank your lucky stars you survived a brush with a human.
Yeah, I know, right? I hate humans.
What the hell was that? It was like no beast I've ever seen.
No one truly knows.
Crying.
They're protected by Magla, so even the sharpest steel does little good against them. They're no simple beast. All we do know is with every passing year, more of their kind tear travelers apart. That was why I was first sent undercover here, investigating.
Oh.
And? Did you learn anything?
Simmer down, boy. There wasn't a damn thing to be found on those monsters. Well, the moon's still low. If you've any other questions, now's the time.
Tell me more about the mission.
I want to hear about the mission.
With numbers like this, a head-on assault would be suicide. Quick, covert assassinations are best bet. Kingslayer or no, Luis has a lot of public favor behind him. To the people, he's the only man with the wit and war power to bring down humans. The military seems powerless to stop them, so he plays savior. The man's practically a monster himself. By your age, he was not only a master tactician, but damn near an archmage besides.
Oh.
And the three of us alone are supposed to stop him.
Well, that's why it's an assassination and not a head-on assault, you dumbass.
We'll just have to blend in with the crowd at the funeral. I won't abide him surviving the ceremony. He will die by my hand.
This game is pretty good. No, this is not the movement game. You're looking at the wrong monitor. I'm actually surprised I got past the fucking transformation scene and then look at all the cool stuff and the demo is still not over yet.
Well...
Oh, I wanna save first. Okay, thank you. Smells like meat. Where'd this come from? Is this new?
Yes.
Was this... Did someone send you this?
Yes.
I see. Do you like it?
Pretty small, but perfect for throwing it over your shoulders.
Wow. You're not gonna beat the grandma allegations. Ah! You done a fine job delivering that message, lad. It's finally time for us to act for His Highness. And you want to ask about that power, don't you?
Huh?
Well, I had a question of my own. You seem to know a great deal about the royal family. Before you infiltrated the army, who were you?
Indeed.
Nothing but a mercenary. And yet His Majesty gave me the honor of being His Highness's, the Prince's tutor and sword oh my god, this is making me think of Ranking of Kings just immediately. He's a snake guy. The night of the attack, I was there.
I see.
Truly. That's incredible.
Got it?
Oh.
Never in my life have I witnessed anything like that power you used. Tell me, is this some sort of magic? No, I suppose it couldn't be. Not with the igniters we were supplied with, at least. Yours was broken in a commotion besides. Incredible. If only I'd had that power back then. Apologies, I've been thinking out loud. Today's been a trying day for us both. So, let's get some rest.
You know...
She's pooped. So she wears a onesie. I could definitely dry on a diaper very easily.
Can't sleep?
She's my pet.
Guess I'm not surprised after what we just went through.
You shouldn't say things like that.
Still, you've got to keep yourself rested to be at your best.
Yeah, I guess you're right. She's wearing clothes. The ground makes a poor bed.
The ground makes a poor bed.
Well, you're just gonna have to rough it until we're back to the capital. I wanted to tell you, though. when the human attacked, I heard a strange voice.
Oh, there's like eldritch monsters in the world, and they're called humans. Ah!
It told me my duty would be to guide you. What do you think it meant? I mean, I haven't exactly been much of a guide so far.
What are you talking
All
about?
I told you was that we had to deliver our message, and that almost got you killed.
What are you talking about? You've been giving me hints along the way. You've been allowing me to be aware of different threats before I had this power. You've been doing so much to help keep me alive. Yeah, you can't pick up a sword, but you've been very much a guide.
I never expected it would be this dangerous, and it feels kind of like it's my fault.
What do you mean you never expected it to be this dangerous? You were constantly along the way being like, if we don't do this, we'll die. If you don't do this, we'll die. If we don't do this, we'll die. Oh, my little danger.
I don't really mind.
That's nice of you to say. Look, I can't fight with you, but as long as you're up against all this scary stuff, I'll try to help however I can.
Watch halfway through the game, she becomes able to fight.
You've got something special, you know. I don't know what it is just yet, but I believe in you.
Oh, you don't think the something special is the ability to rip out my heart and transform into a giant metal monster? Well, I mean, it makes me feel even more unique.
Oh, hey, you know what insomnia is good for? Catching up on reading.
Oh, she's like you, babe. She loves to read. Sup, sauce?
If only our lives were anything like the world in your novel. It's just war after war here, with Magla arts fueling the flames. But it's a nice fantasy. Enjoy it while you can. Good night.
What the fuck was that? Oh, I'm about to eat. I'm about to meet Igor,
Well,
obviously.
Nice to meet you. I've been waiting.
Is it literally Igor? Make it Igor. Oh my god. It's Igor Bahar.
You truly are an intriguing one.
This dude wears lipstick so good.
Fascinating. In the moments where your heart is most gripped by the book, I can reach out to you.
By the book? Did you write the book?
My name is Moore, and I am the humble author of the novel you've been reading.
I thought so.
You stand now in my study. Quite something, isn't it? A hall of wisdom, purpose-built for the research of certain powers. I call it academia.
Okay.
Alas, it's as much a prison as it is a library. His most merciful majesty saw fit to lock me in this place.
Gosh. My girlfriend is like a clumsy cat.
Has me a bit addled, honestly. I no longer remember where in the kingdom my study actually lies. I never imagined my voice would reach beyond these walls. Until you appeared. And now, by whatever strange forces are afoot, I can speak directly to your mind. So, what would you say to an alliance?
Not interested.
Sorry, not interested.
Oh, come now. I'm sure it will prove to be a very beneficial arrangement for you. There must be more you wish to know. For instance, the nature of this fascinating power you've awakened to.
You know about this fascinating power I've awakened to?
I believe you have found a way to wield true magic. You need no petty conduit of mortal make. You can even change your appearance using the raw magla within. It is above all a mystic, long-hidden art, now the stuff of legend. What I have come to call archetypes.
Archetypes?
A spirit of heroic virtue. A transformative power that manifests only in those who embody the heroes and kings of old in some core aspect.
Oh.
Heroes of antiquity are often depicted as near mythic figures, with forms transcending the mortal. These accounts are no mere allegory, but truth. However, none of my records describe anyone wielding such power as freely as you. Perhaps you are meant for not just proficiency, but mastery.
Oh, that'd be perfect. I kinda need that.
In their truest form, archetypes represent the power of a true hero. One who can drive away calamity and evil in this world, no matter its form. Indulge me this request, and I believe my dream may yet be possible. Together, we can restore the kingdom's ideals. I shall gladly provide you knowledge and assistance to master your newfound power. So what say you? Will you take my hand in friendship?
Not much choice.
Not much choice.
The bargain is struck then.
I hear a voice from somewhere.
The scholar in search of utopia. More. Within him dwells the virtue of the seeker.
Oh my god, this is just pseudo persona. This is my first like relationship thingy.
Nurture thy bond with him, and a new power yet slumbering within thee may awaken.
New bond.
Now let's see what manner of story you'll weave.
Seeker archetype. The party can now study the Seeker once locked in academia. Oh, so it's like classes? Bright-eyed student allows the party to change between archetypes once unlocked. Icons is the heroic embodiment of the Seeker from More. Followers. More is the first of your followers. People that support your quest and steadfast allies that you can grow closer to. Strengthening your bonds with your followers will lead to unlocking various abilities that can change the shape of your journey. More is just the first of many, so keep an eye out.
We'll meet again, I'm sure. Here's to our joined path, and the thrills that yet lie ahead. The royal funeral draws ever closer. 5 days remain.
Terrifying.
Already then? From here on, we travel in secret. If we're to get back into the capital, we'll have to do it undetected. So we'll cut through the forest, find the abandoned mine shaft in the mountain, and take the tunnel to the other side.
That way they'll never see us coming, huh?
Lad, you'll be our vanguard. It'll be a trial by fire, but the sooner you get used to that power, the better.
Speaking of, you were talking like you know something about it.
Not much. Just what I've picked up from missions in the early days. I've only heard it's a power found in those who walk a righteous path. Sounded like superstition to me, but everything's always clearer on the battlefield. Once I saw it in action, I could tell it was no fable. Never thought it'd come back to haunt me. Despite all my training and research, I never managed to master it myself.
Huh. It really is something special, then.
Don't forget, one wrong move and I'll cut you down.
I'm aware.
I'm watching you.
Yes, I get it. Just trust me, all right?
Right. Let's check the map. This'll all be for nothing if we get lost.
This place.
They're called the North Mines. Apparently going through them will put us near the capital, it seems.
That being the case...
The road should take us to the Grand Trad.
Alright.
We'll check up for a way around. Next stop, Grand Trad. The North Mines are full of complex paths. We can go through them to approach the capital undetected.
Don't let your guard down.
We'll be going through the North Mines. Are you ready?
Good.
We should hurry. Our focus is on making it to the world capital.
The Nord Mines, located northwest of Grand Trad. It is resource-rich with magla crystals. Its proximity to the capital simplified crystal excavation, but the Sanctus Church's
social link, that's the word, thank you.
Stopped work in its tracks. Exiting the forest, the party continues along the wooded road leading to the derelict mine.
The mine's entrance should be just ahead. Don't stray off the path.
Huh?
Did your wounds reopen?
What happened?
No, I'm fine. It's just... I can't help but feel like we're being watched.
No.
This deep in the wilderness, though? Couldn't be. Sorry, I'm just on edge.
Don't let your guard down.
Looking for an opening to escape? Don't forget I have my eye on you.
Look at that!
Hey, look up in the air! Those large birds are known as Cordoval. It stalks its prey from the sky, then goes in for an ambush. So what now? Like we need another addition to our list of problems. Maybe we can hide and wait it out? No, we need to keep moving. We're already low on time as it is, besides. Let me guess. We can move much faster if I die back there and you need to keep an eye on me? Come on, have a little faith.
Let's go.
Should I? If you're truly worthy, then demonstrate. We need to move, don't fall behind.
Pushing forward.
I appreciate that the demo didn't stop after I got the power, so I can get used to like what an average fight will be. Hold on, there's some wild dogs over there. Hundos. The beast hunts in packs. They should come at us together. We'll be overwhelmed if we're not careful. You can't give them that chance to surround us. We'll need to find a different path for now. Why do you hesitate, lad? It's just a pack of wild dogs. Barely worth a moment's worry for someone such as you. Of course. Oh, good, you're starting to catch on. You can't let the fear paralyze you. First, take a good look at your foes. Consider, is this your first meeting, or are you already familiar with them?
Got it?
Once you've assessed their strength, prepare your next move. If they're stronger, approach with caution. If they're weak, cut them down quickly. Now, size up the hundo. What do you make of it? That's weaker. Indeed. You slipped out of Death's grip at the fort, so this should be hardly a challenge. When engaging a weaker foe, clear your mind and simply do what must be done. Put them through your sword.
Alright.
Give it a shot.
Right there.
Come on! Push through! Come on!
Hey,
how's that?
Oh, I love that. I love that. They really cut the fat. They really cut the fat.
Hold on.
Oh, that's right. I've got one more rule for you to keep in mind.
Got it?
Never drop your guard. Even against weaker foes. On the battlefield, fortunes can turn if you let up even for a moment. Should that help, and change your tactics and fight together as one. Stay calm and you'll be fine. Press triangle to initiate a squad battle against an enemy in the field. Triangle to initiate a squad battle on the enemy after depleting his break gauge with square, and the battle starts with a great advantage in your favor. However, if you type out an enemy stronger than you, you'll be forced into a battle where the enemy is at an advantage. Survey the situation and use different methods to fight. Never stop looking for ways to seize any tactical advantage. Evaluate the enemies in your vicinity, then decide whether you'll dispatch them quickly with square attacks to stun them first, or directly to a strategic squad battle. Face sight will help you determine your battle approach while staying out of enemy reach. Use it to be efficient as you tackle a dungeon.
I'm counting on
There's no replacement for first-hand experience. Get comfortable with fighting before we reach the Grand Trad. I need to be sure you can defend yourself.
That being the case.
Whoa.
There they are. Time for some close-up.
Ow.
We'll hold our ground.
Nice dodge! You've got some fancy footwork, Stroll.
If you attack in a dungeon, if you are attacked in a dungeon and be forced into a squad battle, that begins the enemy's turn, which is dangerous. If you're unhappy with how the battle is going, you can restart from the beginning by pressing L3. Press R2 to assist will automatically move the cursor to an enemy who has a weakness skill that you have.
Wind!
Take this!
Not done yet. Oh, please!
Still up? We did it.
Hopefully that's the last of them for a while.
I gotta be careful. Huh? Okay, squad instantly.
Right, let's do this.
That's what I said.
Scour!
Take this!
Tougher than I thought.
Damn.
A tough one.
Let's catch our breath.
Bounty mark. No, bounty bark.
Let's push through. We can't get sloppy.
Eyes up, novices. I'll be getting a head start, thanks.
Whoa! Shadow Clone Jutsu!
Vitus power. Wind! Just one left.
Take this! Still standing.
Unscathed triumph.
They're down. Victory well earned.
Victory Lilith!
They found us. Get ready, everyone.
This battle's ours.
Don't let them
Let's
get
go. Let's go. Scour! Stay sharp.
One's down. Nothing to worry about.
Tougher than I thought.
It's okay.
I didn't even need the exciting music.
Not worth us rest. Hopefully that's the last of them for a while.
Bounty mark.
What is it?
Haven't you lot been around these parts before? You wouldn't be bandits now, would you? You seem dodgy yourself. You really think I look like a bandit? Aw, hell. Well, at the very least, I suppose you're not crooks. I guess I'm just on edge. I know it's funny to think so in a deserted place like this, but I feel like I'm being followed. What are you doing in such a remote place? Whoa, I'm not your enemy, friend. I'm just a peddler. I have a regular nearby, so I came for business, but the beast's a real bloodthirsty day, so I assumed a human appeared. For instance, have you heard about the human who appears from nowhere and wipes out entire towns? Terrifying, no? My apologies, didn't mean to sour the mood. Hey, would you lot be interested in buying something? If I buy a revival medicine, I can't afford shit else.
Now then. Now then. Now then.
In my trade, you hear a lot of gossip, plenty of rumors lately about beasts from all over getting more feral by the day. And when that happens, a human eventually appears out of nowhere and destroys some town or village. Chills me to even speak of it. I hear the monsters have been running amok lately at the nearby border fort. Hope nothing bad has happened. Oh, have you found something worth selling? I can give you a good price. Plenty of stuff in the woods, lots of rubbish, but some materials too. You won't catch me scavenging for it today though.
Thank you.
I'll put until the beast settle down some and you find something worth selling, well, you know where to find me.
Come on! Good one! We have the edge.
This is our chance.
Take this!
I feel bad for this moth that didn't even get any land.
Some battles are hardly a footnote. That's all over. We can relax for now.
We've been spotted! On your guard!
This battle's ours.
Let's
go!
We'll win this!
Wind! Let's finish this!
I knew you had this.
And die hard!
The freedom of a...
Keep it up!
Oh, the baby moth is stunned. Die.
Tougher than I thought.
You hate to see it.
Okay. I feel stronger.
Nice. I was hoping to get at least one level up before the next, I'm assuming, boss or harder encounter.
Hopefully that's the last of them for a while.
That was
How's that? Come on!
If you see a use for it, I say take it with you.
Push through! Let's give him a fight! Seeker! Scour! Last one!
Take this! Still standing.
Seeker, scour!
There's no way I'm stopping here.
There are some enemies left. Stay sharp.
Here we go.
Right! Let's do this!
Let's go. Wind! Still here?
Trivial. Take this!
That settles that.
Whew. That should do it.
I have a healing spell now, so I don't need to use items to heal.
We won't lose this fight.
Let's clear them out.
I won't hold back.
Tougher than I thought.
Trivial.
By this power.
Man, that was mean.
I owe you.
You
Take this!
attacked only him.
No, that's too much.
You gotta aim better than that.
Seeker! Let's hurry on.
them all. We'll be safe for a while.
Hold on. Hold. The air here is suddenly grown tense. Oh, there's magic in the air again.
Got a moment?
Hey, what's going on? We've been surrounded. Even out here, it would seem that the monsters are the least of our concerns. I know you can hear me, so show yourself! Or would you rather we come at you? Damn, awfully sharp for an old goat, ain't you? The bastards lived long enough! Kill him quick! Carol.
It appears we must do this.
I've never fought soldiers before, but I won't waver.
Ah! Not Persona!
Never seen anything like it.
That's not an igniter.
Nope, but it's the last thing you'll see before your death.
Blast!
Guarding. Press circle to guard, which consumes one turn icon. Guarding greatly decreases the damage your character takes and prevents any weaknesses from being exploited. This prevents enemies from gaining turns too.
What's that? I think something's coming!
Take this! Get ready!
Sight!
Utilizing formations. During squad battles, your formation will affect the damage party members deliver and receive depending on their position. Those in the front row deal more damage with melee attacks. Those in the back row deal less melee damage but take less damage from enemies. During battle, you can change your formation by up and down on the party members between your rows.
Vitus power!
Go on, finish the job!
Tougher than I thought.
Let's do this! Hold still!
Oh, please!
Shite!
Come forth, Royal Soul!
I am such a healer.
My thanks.
Take this!
Get ready! Blast!
What's that? I think something's coming!
impact.
Watch out!
I can't believe I'm being targeted.
It's our turn now!
Target me, target me.
Wind!
Take this!
Got no mercy for you! Here they come!
Still here?
Still standing.
Nice. Are there soldiers from the fort? They survived. No, there couldn't be. They're simply deserters, aren't they?
No.
That's not what I'm asking. How many... How would they have already mobilized the pursuit? I don't know, but I think it's safe to say I'm the least of your worries at this point.
Let's hurry.
In any case, we should probably keep moving. Let's go! Yeah, the plot thickens.
Alright.
Here we are. It looks so creepy. Well, I guess you did say it was abandoned. Aye. The Crown Theocracy ordered it so. I haven't been to this place in quite some time. Despite the royal decree, I still hear of miners risking it all to come to this place, seeking the riches left within.
Hey.
I'd happily trade some illegal miners for the armed detachment of soldiers pursuing us. Shall we hurry inside?
Indeed.
You're not wrong there. Make preparations if you must, but be quick about it.
So?
What is it?
Well, why come here of all places? Is there someone you know inside? I can ask you the same thing. Haven't you heard? This place was abandoned, but a few blokes stayed behind to do some less than legal mining. One of them is an old friend of mine. I sell the stones he digs up.
Please come highly recommended.
The stones he digs out. But enough of that. Surely we met for a reason. If there's something you need, allow me to accommodate you.
Now then. Now then. Now then.
Thank you.
Damn, that's a long ass demo. I guess it is the entire prologue, to be fair. Last night's incident wiped out the fort's entire garrison. Surely they lack the manpower needed to search for deserters. Somehow we've managed being pursued. Regardless, due to the nature of our mission, it'd be best if they consider us dead. Let's push through this mine while we can. So it wasn't just my imagination to think we were being followed this whole time. But like Gareth said, something's off. When that human came out of nowhere, it wiped out all the soldiers to the last. Then again, maybe it didn't come out of nowhere. If that's the case, no, it couldn't be.
Wait a second.
Wait, there's probably a bunch of shady miners in there, right? Will we be safe around them? Fear not, most of them are the same miners who worked here before the closure. Besides, it'd be against our best interest to cause a scene and risk the crown theocracy coming down on us, right?
Then...
Oh, it sounds like there won't be a problem then. Are you ready? Yeah. Let's go. If our pursuers catch up with us, it'll be a whole mess of trouble that I'd rather not deal with. Let's move with haste. Norrid Mines. However, it's dead quiet. Are you sure there's still people working here? That disquieting stillness you feel. Those are your instincts alerting you to the bloodthirst in the air. Judging by the people who were after us before, then it's likely.
Stop!
Halt, deserters! Wait, how'd they get ahead of us? You're trapped like rats now. Lay down your arms and surrender peacefully. As I thought, we've walked right into an ambush. They've got us at a disadvantage, catching us in this narrow bottleneck. We need to turn back now. It's no use, the entrance is already barricaded with soldiers. Surrender immediately, you've got nowhere to run, and if you don't comply, then the miners will pay the price for your insolence.
Wait.
This has to be a misunderstanding. We're not deserters, we were forced to retreat. We had no choice, a human... Oh yes, we're aware of your predicament. That's exactly why we can't have any survivors. Our orders are to let there be no escape. But it appears we stepped into a whole damn conspiracy. We have no choice. We find out a way through. Here they come. Stop them here and now.
I can't believe this.
Normal soldiers ain't shit.
Stop right there.
I can't believe this.
Cat?
What are you doing?
They saw us! Close, everyone!
Wow.
Look!
Over there, someone's collapsed. It's probably a trap. Oh, no, it's not.
Hey, are you alright?
I told you. I didn't see no deserters. Please. Don't kill me.
The life is gone from his eyes. Damn, a lot of people die straight in front of you in this game.
To send a message, boy. Either we give ourselves up, or these innocents pay the price.
But the only one who could know we survived, and the only one who could send soldiers after us. Oh, come on, let's move.
Is the government! The government is bad! Wow! So surprising. Stop! Stop! He's already dead!
I can't believe this.
Amazing! Great moves back there.
What?
No way.
Isn't that? Just as I thought, it all makes sense now. It appears that we were expected. I swear if there's another human in this goddamn mine. Oh, is that the guy who was our fucking squad captain?
You were the only one who never went up to the fort itself, after all. It couldn't have been anyone else.
Who would have thought 3 sorry stragglers would make it past a whole unit of assassins?
Bastard! You never intended for anyone to survive. You knew the human would be there.
Naturally. You heard the reports. I only put more bait on the hook. I wasn't expecting that damn thing to be rampaging already.
You sent those soldiers to their deaths. Why?
Because the Kingdom's Guard is powerless before the humans, and only a pile of bodies will prove that to the public.
So someone wants the King's Guard disgraced. And when the people need him most, a savior rises as their shield. Is that your game?
Savior? Speak plain, boy. You think he's one of Luis's men?
A pitiful flock needs its shepherd. If a little blood is what it takes to show them who their real savior is, then that's a price easily paid.
That's why those sons and daughters died. For your savior.
They aren't the first. The soldiers cry for reinforcements, the villagers plead to be spared. But I know better than to confront a human.
Alright.
A village? You refused. Wait, then you were the one who... 7 years ago, the first Flames Day of June, a village in the northern hills was razed to the ground. A village called Harlia.
Oh, yes, that might have been a name.
Excuse you, sir?
Then you made a fatal mistake, Klinger. You left one survivor!
We fight!
Stay back!
Help me!
You played right into our hands, you know. This was the only road without checkpoints. A simple deduction.
You're a disgrace to your title.
Oh, I think he's gonna activate his extra special power.
But as for you, you're hopeless!
O thou who art seared with bitterness.
Hell
O
yeah!
thou anguished traveler. It is time for thou to choose thy path. O lodestar, whose light reveals the king's own path. Awaken.
What the? Oh, no! I can't fail Lord Luis. Without him, I've got nothing left. You struggle in vain. I won't let you rob me of my glory! This is the way of the real world, little lordling!
Oh, I get to defeat an adult?
You call this real? Leaders abandon their people and the innocent die by their scorn. If that's the real world, then it can die alongside you! My name is Leon Stroll de Halliatus. My home and my family were taken from me. I am the last of my house. I am the last of my noble bloodline. And in the name of my people, I will strike you down where you stand!
Oh my god, Rockstar.
Come! I
I will show you a world with honor.
Alright, we're in peril.
What is this?
Wait, he's got power like yours now? Well, better show him how to use it.
I don't know what you think you're doing, but I'll not cave to an empty threat like that! This igniter's all I need to turn you to ash. You lot, get to it! Cover me!
So he scampers off to protect himself, and his subordinates get to be his living shields. The man's showing his true colors. I'll fix the filthy coward with the end he deserves.
The igniter's powerful, but it takes care and calculation to wield. If you sense danger, steel your defenses and endure it.
Diagonal slash deals weak physical slash damage to one enemy.
I'll cut you down!
The freedom of a...
I won't hold back! Scour!
Take this! Curse you!
Die!
Okay, you resist fire.
Are you prepared? Hack and slash!
It's okay. We can do this.
Let's make this quick.
Die!
Oh, but I'm weak to fire. Ow, ow.
Die!
Warrior!
Die already!
Let's go!
Take this!
You'll die!
No
unleashed
holding
and
back!
unborn.
I'll cut you down!
Die!
Trivial! Nowhere to run!
Critical hit!
You fool! Warrior! No idea!
Neither has no backup. I don't know what's gonna happen.
The freedom of...
I mean, I expect them to have
We can
some
do this.
sort of
I owe you.
like phase 2.
Die!
Let's stay calm.
Bracing!
Die!
Nice.
Take this!
I call upon royal power within!
Let's go!
To fall! Here!
Wind!
Still here?
Die! 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 You-
Mega flames?
You!
Oh, mage flames.
Die!
Oh, we got a second turn.
Luis!
Ah. Woo! He got really dangerous there at the end. Flame wildly flickers
I'll
out
say so
before it's
myself.
extinguished. Oh shit, he caught up to me!
I shall rise to the occasion.
You sure did rise, brother.
Impossible!
Never expected a commissioned officer would end up a wild-eyed zealot.
Really? I would feel like that'd be the first person.
How did I do all that? And without an igniter?
Just like him. Who are you two, really?
I'm Leon Stroll. Just a fallen noble from the countryside. Back there, Klinger mentioned a village that was raised by a human. They sent for help, but he abandoned them. Halia was its name. I'm the son of its lord. And now I know what really happened. We sent our fastest riders, but we were doomed from the start. If Luis was behind it, then that's all I need to know. He's the one who'll answer for it. I have my own reason to fight now. I don't want to be an ally of convenience alone, so once more, Please, let me join your cause.
Well, I mean, he has superpowers now, so you can't really say no, right? We need all the help we can get.
What do you say, Grius?
I see keeping an eye on you was too much trouble in the first place.
So you've no objections? What say you, friend?
We're brothers in arms.
We're brothers in arms, my friend.
Brothers in... yes. I'll do my best to deserve that honor.
Don't worry.
Now, onward.
The proud noble, Stroll. Within him dwells the virtue of the warrior. Nurture thy bond with him, and a new power yet slumbering within thee may awaken.
The power of giant babies. New bond! Buy now.
Together we stand.
You can now study the warrior archetype. I feel struck by inspiration. I found a new way to harness this power. I can sense the heroic embodiment of the warrior from within Stroll. He has high pants.
Did you feel that just now? What's going on? Does it have something to do with that odd magic? Now that I think about it, once you awakened, isn't it weird that Stroll followed not long after? What does this mean?
There was no timer set, but I think the meat.
Okay. Are you saying that in a way where it's like it's on fire or something? That was ominous. I think the demo's almost over.
Huh? Wait, what?
Oh no! Eyeballs. Wait, she knows that the screen happened? Oh wait, they all got teleported to the... we all got teleported to the library?
Hey,
oh no,
where
just
are
me
we?
and her.
What just happened?
Surprising indeed. Somehow you find yourself here once more.
Oh, she read the book too, right?
I thought their kind long extinct. Do they yet take refuge in the Elden Sanctum?
Hey! You gonna talk to me or just at me?
We meet again, my friend. Though admittedly sooner than I'd expected. Remarkably, another has awakened. What miracle is this? Yes, that same power now stirs in your companion. Another of the mighty archetypes. Do you recall our discussion earlier about how archetypes are an original form of magic?
More or less.
Well, more or less.
Consider this. As an elder, you are an outcast of society, yes? Your very identity is a kind of destiny you may defy but not escape. All mortals suffer under the weight of our burdens. But in facing and embracing that anxiety, you make it your innermost power. You find freedom. And so, the lives of those who overcome their hardships and embody the virtues within are passed down as heroic tales. Your companion, too, had his eyes open to his true path and claimed its virtue. That awakening is your doing. He awakened to the archetype that protects you.
Hey, hold on a second. Who even are you? How much do you know? I'm warning you, if you mess with him, you're gonna have to go through me.
I wonder what archetype she has.
Ah, you two share quite a deep connection, don't you?
Well, we didn't always, but now we're partners to the end.
Yeah.
We're linked down to the depths of our hearts.
When she doesn't have a bathroom, I let her piss in my mouth.
Right.
We trust each other. I've got his back and he's got mine. And that's all there is to it.
The mystical fairy, Gallica. Within her dwells the virtue of the mage.
Damn, we just making friends left and right.
Nurture thy bond with her. power yet slumbering within thee may awaken.
Oh my god, she's the magician archetype. Oh, we can't hold hands? She should hold my
won't lead you
finger.
astray. That's the whole reason I'm here.
Curious on where that'll end up. The embodiment of the mage is within Gallica.
Wasn't that...
Fascinating. Do you understand what just happened? By connecting with others who have found their resolve, you awaken to new strength.
Whoa.
And further, you and all your allies may fight with the strength of any archetype in your circle. As an example, your other companion, the fellow with the eye patch, he seems to have some training and knowledge regarding the wielding of an archetype. By his own account, nothing came of it. Yet if you so desire it, you can awaken the true power within him.
Oh, so I'm like really good at like bringing out others' potential, I guess.
What? You mean Grius could use this power too?
The nature of the Seeker. No. Perhaps it is simply your own nature. You truly are remarkable. If you seek answers, then go and claim them.
I'll be sure to do that.
This right here.
What I'm about to show you is the lineage chart of the archetypes I've been researching. That said, there are many I've yet to see, so it's far from complete. Each of you has your own chart. You'll use these charts in order to assign archetypes. First, let's consider the one-eyed warrior who bears no archetype. Who yet bears no archetype. Open Garrus's lineage chart now. This is the chart that shows the power and connection of the archetypes. You can gain a new archetype by selecting one here and studying its powers. To study, you'll need Magala, the source of all magic. From Magala within yourself will put too much of a heavy burden on you. This means you need to gather mag from your battles and other sources. Keep that in mind as you travel.
That means...
To learn is to change oneself, they say. Here you may achieve that through study of the archetypes and their deepest secrets.
Now then.
Now I'd like you to choose an archetype from among these.
I see. This right here.
This will be the archetype that the young nobleman recently awakened to. The warrior's domain is physical offense, by the way, of a weighty greatsword. Few other archetypes can complete this raw destructive power, yet the specialization comes at a cost. It has virtually no utility or support outside of hard hits. If your aim is to overwhelm the enemy with brute force, I'd say this is a fine archetype to do it with. 500 mag is required to channel this warrior. This is the archetype you've chosen?
Sure.
Yes, he's earned my trust.
Of course.
So be it. Following you and the young man called Stoll, another worthy wielder archetypes joins your ranks. From this sanctum I shall speak to the heart of the man with the eye patch, Garius. Feel his resolve and let a new soul dwell in his heart. I hear the voices of past hero souls. O worthy heart who tempers anxiety into strength, if thou art ready to bear thyself and fight with all thine heart, I shall bestow upon thee our soul, the power of the warrior.
What did you say?
What is this? This is truly an archetype. This is the same magic I once strove for. I can't believe it is finally within my grasp. The warrior archetype is awakened. You can now change archetypes from the main menu.
I see. This could be useful.
Change equipment.
Fascinating.
The man with the eye patch should now have awoken to the archetype. Similarly, I can imbue you with that noble youth with a new archetype power. Feel free to experiment now and from here on. We'll probably wait till I get one more archetype, honestly. By talking to more in academia and studying archetypes, you will be able to unlock them and use new archetypes. You can gain useful strategic knowledge by attending Moore's lectures or by reading books from the surrounding bookshelves. Oh shit, this is actually goes farther than the bounds of what Persona allowed for in certain ways. Because it was like, oh, my character's special and they can cycle through any persona, but my friends awaken to one can only have that one that they're stapled to. But in this game, it seems that the like archetypes are like classes, almost like Bravely Default. I love it. Royal virtues. You can check the status of your royal virtues, the qualities necessary in the king from the main menu. You can raise the virtues in many ways. It's so quiet. Do you think there's anyone else here? This seems to be about archetype tactics. Archetypes cannot realize their true potential on individual strength alone. Strategies must account for attack, support, recovery, teamwork, and formation. Naturally, optimal strategies require first grasping the fundamentals, yet some battles demand a team of singular specialization and boldness in planning. Party formation tips. The most effective way to form your party is to consider the balance of attack, recovery, and assist skills in your archetypes. If you obtain the information about your enemies in advance, you can arrange archetypes to counteract enemy strengths and strike at enemy weaknesses. Cultivate your archetype strategically so you may employ a wide range of battle strategies. The scroll is shapes of language I've never seen before. It must be some kind of formula. It says the royal magic at the top. That's a formula for a rather complex spell. When mages devise such intricate magic, they commit the formula to scrolls in advance. What? Hold on, are you saying the king himself wrote this? Why would it be here of all places? I couldn't begin to tell you. Perhaps the previous king had his reasons for imprisoning me here after all. I would love to decipher its contents, but it will take a good amount of time. It's written in a script I've never laid eyes on before. But before you go, there's just one thing. Would you mind taking a look at the very end of the scroll?
What's this?
This drawing?
Take a look.
Indeed, it's no more than a simple illustration. But do you not think it bears some resemblance to the Seeker archetype? Moreover, it bears a caption, and mysteriously enough, of all the language therein, it is the only part I can parse. It says, Aoi. Likely the name of a person, unmistakably so. Though I cannot begin to tell you why I feel so certain. A person's name?
Hang on a second.
Well, that's a certain mystery on top of an enigma. Makes me wonder what it says.
Adieu.
Should you learn anything new, I would appreciate it very much if you shared with me. Please examine the scroll whenever you've learned new truths. Yes! You can pet the cat! That's right. Who's a good kitty? Don't usually see this kind of cat in the city, huh?
This cat, you see?
Cute, isn't he? I named him Plato. He is the only solace I have in my confinement here. Looks like Plato wants to give you something. Hero's Incense. I've obtained Hero's Incense. It looks like he's taken a shine to you. That's a valuable item, so do hold on to it. My young friend, you truly are as remarkable.
As I first believed. Others fated to awaken to their own power will be naturally drawn to you.
Oh, I see.
To reach the lineage of power's greatest potential, you must acquire more archetypes and bring them together. After all, a hero without allies is nothing more than a lone dissenter. To save the many, you must learn to fight with the power of many. Only a champion of the people may awaken the power of heroes, and with it, seize a future of their own making. When next you come to see me, I hope it shall be of your own volition. Open my book, then let your imagination conjure this place anew, as vividly as you can make it. I'm sure that will be enough to reunite us.
Magical headspace.
As long as you walk your path, I shall faithfully watch over you. May we meet again.
What? Where are we?
You two all right there? Looked as if you were in some kind of trance.
Yeah, I get hypnotized all the time. It's hot. I mean, it's fine.
Trance? Wait. Have we been here this whole time?
It was strange. As if I felt something in the air. My senses sharpened near tenfold. It reminded me of my old days studying magic.
What? So that wasn't a dream. Grius, that's probably his power. You studied back at the Sanctum, right? I know you couldn't get the hang of it then, but I think we might have just awakened it.
I told her too about the archetype and the gist of what I learned.
Awakened it? But that... Who are you people? The truth, if you would.
The protagonists.
Look, in all honesty, we barely know any more than you do. But the short version is, well, I think you can use that power now.
I think you might be right. The way it feels is... Well, this is magic, eh? I'd all but given up on it, but... Fate had other plans, it seems.
Oh, when you repress your queerness so hard, you're just like, well, I guess it's just not in the cards for me. And then you're in your 60s and you're like, damn, I'm gay as hell.
Enough. We must move on. There is far to go still. And lad, I follow your lead now, at least when it comes to how we use these skills in battle. We haven't the luxury of time to train with magic.
Same here. You've clearly got a sense for this, and I'd rather make myself useful than muddle your strategies.
I can now give instructions to my allies during battle. During battle, I can also press R3 to engage in auto battle, causing the party to fight according to the tactics settings. And change to auto battle tactics during battle, I press L1.
We've 5 days until the funeral. That's precious little time, and we'd best not waste it.
Look!
Oh gosh, and what's that?
What's up?
Oh. You don't see anything? I don't sense anything else. What's this all about? So no one else really sees them, huh? Maybe we're the only ones who can go into that room. Oi, are you all lost all light?
Pardon?
I saw a dead miner, assumed there'd been some accident, but looking at it now, this isn't the case. It was the military. What business would they have in a place like this? Hold on, don't tell me they're after the miners.
Hold on.
Wait, how did you get in here? I'm certain the entrance and exit were sealed off by soldiers. Soldiers? I don't see anyone. Only one I saw was that pasty fellow who looked like some sort of general. You mean Klinger? But we kinda left him splayed out over there.
Huh?
He's gone!
Damn it.
Damn, we must go after him. It'll be bad if he returns with reinforcements. No. Leave him be. He has no one else left, I'd wager. He was bluffing about sealing off the exits. On top of that, he failed to finish us off. He won't be able to return to Lewis as anything but a disgrace.
Sure.
You're right. Let's leave him be, at least for now. It's not like he can go back to the military either, after what he said to us. I have no idea what this is all about, but I'm relieved. I was worried everyone would be dead in here. I'm gonna be around for a while. If you need anything, you know who to ask. When you can select this button to level other characters, what other players are at, and what party formations they use when they clear the dungeon you're challenging. Oh. Huh, that kind of reminds me of the Dark Souls message system, except it's just an echo of who was there. That's cool. It's like a community, it's like a community-based recommendation system. That was nearly it for me.
Sorry.
Sorry you got dragged into all this. Most of the guard soldiers aren't unhinged maniacs if it helps. Right, considering you're apologizing, I guess you aren't the bad guys. I see why Klinger stooped to using hostages as bait. A worthless captain, but he certainly had an eye for new recruits. A surefire tactic against your like. I'm heartily ashamed. That aside, you're not passing through these caves, are you? You best turn back now, if so. Something nasty's in the air lately. The gelatinous jiggling around in here. They're not just little jellies anymore. They're downright dangerous. Try chasing them away, but a blade doesn't do much to them. Fire is our best shot, and getting someone with an igniter to blast them. Didn't used to be so many of them around, but now there's so many we might never clear them out. This place is a right monster's den these days. All I'm saying is there's a long way to the other end of the mountain. No man can get through that unscathed. But the king's funeral is upon us. We haven't the time to look further else.
Yeah.
Not much else we can do then, but we should at least make sure we can use some magic. So, time to rest?
Oh.
I mean, we have full health and everything. Oh, we can even look at past conversations. Nice, nice. Hi. I wouldn't go any further if I were you. The mines areas felt strange lately. Not just monsters, there's some dangerous magic like crystal that mesmerizes them, or so the others claim. I thought it was mere superstition, but either way, it's not normal. Just be on your guard. Let me kill! What is this? The uncanny feeling in the air.
This place.
The magma here feels awfully dense too. Was it always like this? It was not. This used to be a completely mundane mine shaft, no different from the others.
That being the case.
Perhaps it was what the miner was talking about before, something about the interior of this place being unusual? Assassinating Lewis is our top priority. Do not forget that. Prepare yourselves now, or we'll have no time to rest until we're there. Mind your numbers and watch your health carefully. We cleared? Auto recovery. Okay.
Be careful.
Gosh, this game is just throwing so much hits at me.
I'll give it my all.
This is our chance. Forward.
It could be worse.
Any means necessary.
No holding back. Hack and slash. Not done yet.
It's okay. We can do that. A tough one.
Stroll! They've sapped your defenses!
Still standing.
In the name of justice, warrior!
Not now.
Warrior! I'll cut you down. One left.
Took one out!
Let's take a
Seeker! Scour!
Still up?
Uh-oh! Brace yourselves!
Damn.
They've sapped your defenses!
Go on, finish the job.
In the name.
Well, that about does it.
That'll do it.
What now?
Wow, the menu. The menu is damn. Ooh.
Brace yourselves.
Oh my god, these snakes have nut sacks on their chin.
Watch out! You're
Can't give up now. Not like this.
Get up!
Oh, please.
Hey! Hey! Wake up! We're still in a fight here!
Turn back the clock.
Stroll's badly wounded! Can anyone heal him?
Okay, well, could be worse.
Any means necessary. With what strike?
Stroll can't take any more.
I call upon royal power within! Let's wrap this up!
Stroll
I
always
won't hold
comes
back!
through.
Okay.
We can do this!
Helpful as ever.
Yay, Stoll's not dead.
Stroll's been burned.
I would
Better
hold
watch out for
back.
any enemies targeting him.
Oh, and you can like skip the long version of the animation.
Survived this long.
That's pretty good.
I got burned. I could use some help healing.
Let's do this.
Eyes up, novices. Don't be careless.
Phantom dance.
Stroll's been burned. You better watch out for any enemies targeting him.
It burns! Warrior! I'll cut you down! One left!
Scotland!
Let's stay
Great
calm.
job, Stroll.
I chose the wrong approach.
Don't get too relaxed.
We won't lose this
I
fight.
know these guys are weak.
Let's do
Stay
this.
focused.
Wish every fight was that easy, eh? I got burned. I could use some help healing.
Hopefully that's the last of them.
All right.
Yes.
This is our chance.
Forward! Stroll's been burned. You better watch out for any enemies targeting him.
I think I'm getting used to this. Not bad at all.
There are still some foes around. Don't let your guard down.
Our usual tactics.
Eyes
Stay
up,
calm.
novices.
Let's do this.
Let's go. Slash it.
I call upon royal power within!
Seeker! Scour! Still here?
Oh, that sucked.
Stroll's been burned. You
I
better
would
watch out
hold
for any
back.
enemies targeting
The
him.
blade. I'll go for
They're
the
dead.
kill.
I shall vanquish evil!
This one, Grius.
Yeah, should just focus all on one enemy.
We did it.
Ooh, a chest.
Stinks.
Nice.
Look at that.
Magia pill.
Here we go.
Eyes up, novices.
Stroll's been burned.
Warrior.
You better watch out for any enemies
With what
targeting him.
strike?
Are you prepared? Almost finished!
Good one,
Great
Stroll.
job, Stroll.
Come forth, royal soul. Wind!
Uh-oh.
It burns.
Weakness.
Dodge. Not like they could get you with that.
Trivial.
You've been burned.
Any means
If you get
necessary.
attacked, it'll hurt a lot more
Blade.
than usual. Stroll's been
I
burned.
shall vanquish
You better
evil!
watch out for any enemies targeting him.
One left.
Only one. Finish them off.
won't hold
We're
back.
clear.
Heal!
Oh, please!
Stroll's been burned.
Warrior.
You better watch out for any enemies targeting him.
Got other options.
You've been burned.
It
If
burns!
you get attacked, it'll hurt a lot more than usual.
Scour! A tough one.
Is everyone okay?
Still
Try to
fight.
heal up. Stroll's badly wounded. Can anyone heal him?
Yay! Recover from burn.
I'll handle this.
That helped.
Stroll can't take any more.
Warrior!
Someone heal him.
Warrior!
Stroll, you gotta aim better than that.
Missed.
Watch out! You're barely holding it together.
Let's go.
Haha!
Swordplay comes as easily to me. Warrior!
You could not kill me. Almost.
Let's keep this up.
I should not forget I'm playing on hard mode. Oh, no good. Those offer none of our ways blocked.
I don't like
That's not all either. I'm sensing magicka, and the feeling is only getting stronger. It's disturbing. Like the back at the fort. Same as the fort. Surely you don't mean... Fear is a luxury we can afford right now, lad. Glacier's words are cause for concern, but for now, we need to keep moving. Look closely, lad. There's a gap between those collapsed rocks. We should be able to squeeze through if we go one at a time. Oh, look at all those monsters.
I see the enemy.
They saw us!
Oh,
On
shit.
your toes, everyone!
Luke.
Oh, God.
Oh, this is so cool.
Come on!
Good form.
We have the
advance.
Everyone, go!
Any means necessary. The blade.
They're down.
No holding back!
That's just what Gria's does.
Hack and slash!
You gotta keep going.
I will fight by this power. Wind! Two remaining.
Very promising.
Yes, be stunned.
Only 2 enemies left. Stay sharp.
Let's go. Might not have to.
I can't afford to hold back.
Seeker! Scour! Still here?
Uh-oh. Brace yourself.
I keep pressing the wrong button.
Take it.
Helpful as ever. Now, what's the play? I'll cut you down! That's one!
Took one out.
The freedom of a Seeker! Wind!
The freedom of a warrior to spit in your face.
The power of heroes. Can't linger here.
Okay.
Let's move. Good.
New skill. Ooh. Make support attacks from your comrades happen more easily in overworld combat.
Hopefully that's the last of them for a while.
Oh, we made it out.
This is bad. They're onto us.
Come on!
These things grow more powerful.
No enemies I can see.
Haha, no more cavities.
Act fast, and we'll win this.
Let's go.
Warrior! The blade! Don't celebrate.
I can't.
The Scour! Just
That
2
one's
left.
down.
Very
We've got
promising.
nothing to worry about. Only 2 2 enemies left. Stay sharp. All right, everyone. Get him.
Now, what's the play? I try hard!
It's okay.
That one's down.
That's the
You've got
spirit.
nothing to worry about.
Okay, you do auto battler for every single character if you want to keep going.
Warrior, with one strike.
Let's hurry on.
Not bad, if I say so. Nice. I feel stronger already.
Damn it! They saw us.
Oh!
We'll hold our ground.
Ouch.
Get up.
I'm well
Badly
worse.
wounded.
Done. Forgive me.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, champion against fear.
0 champions
Rise
against fear,
and
right?
face anxiety.
I hope this game has like auto saves or something.
If you see use for it, I say take it with you.
Strong defensive.
Fine work.
Look
Let's
at
talk
that.
man. I won't hold back.
Alright, guess we have to try this entire room again.
Are you prepared? Two remaining. Double
Great
do.
job, Troll.
Scour! Stay sharp.
They're down.
It's not over yet.
Let's
I
go.
knew you have this.
Still standing, eh?
I call upon royal power within!
There's no way I'm stopping here.
That'll do. Nice. I feel stronger already. A new power to wield.
Heat up. Increases physical attack by 10%. Attack increases further if archetype of the same lineage are present. Oh, nice.
Our usual
Yeah, we'll
tactics
just
should
squat
work.
up.
Let's do this.
I thought that shit said submissive worm.
No holding back. Hack and slash.
Not near me. The blade.
Let's stay calm. Bracing!
Whoa!
Don't be careless. Here
This
I go.
thing is strong.
Grius' guard is down.
I shall vanquish evil. I'll cut you down.
Swordplay comes as easily to me as breathing. Changing stance.
The freedom of a wanderer.
Someone get him back on his feet.
Strong acid is very strong.
Grius'
I will
guard
fight
is
with...
down.
Let's go. Wind!
What have I done?
Someone help revive him. Watch out. You're
can't
barely
give up
holding
now.
it together.
Retry.
Warrior! Hack and slash.
Blades ready, lads. Any means necessary.
It's okay.
Not like this. Get up.
Don't be
Fuck.
careless. Here I go.
Hey. Hey. Wake up. We're still in a fight here.
Now, let's see.
Now, flee!
There are still some foes.
Alright. I'm not built for that.
Cat! Push through! All right.
How's that? Great find. Keep it.
They saw us!
What now?
Let's see.
They must have lost sight of us. We can relax.
Nice find. Looks like it could be useful.
Whoa.
Nobody here to lay claim to it, so it's yours.
Woo! Hell yeah. Hey, see that room over there? The magla feels less dense there compared to the rest of the place. Safe room? Safe room? Safe room? Safe room? Now I really want to play Persona, but I don't know if I should wait for a sale or not. Do you not have access to any Personas, or are you saying Persona 5 specifically? If so, you should wait for a sale for Persona 5 because Persona 5 Royal regularly goes on price for like half off. Is that so? I don't feel anything. I thought that was just a feeling, but now I can see it. It's like the Magla hollows out just for that room. Back in the Sanctum, I learned the fairies are natural adepts at sensing magula. It's safe to assume the Gallica is no exception.
How about a break?
Maybe we can get some rest in here. Why don't we head inside? Indeed. That's not a bad idea. We should catch our breath before continuing. Safe room!
Hey.
Oh my god, it looks like a Resident Evil safe room in the mines in Resident Evil 1. This does seem like an ideal place to rest. I'm just wondering why the magula is thinner here. I couldn't tell you much, it's just like a feeling I get. There's a varying intensity in the magula that floats through the air. For example, think of it like a steam or smoke. There seems to not be... It seems not much could seep into this room. A magia hollow, if you will. Even your igniters won't work as well in here. A magia is like a good term as any, and all the bear of Gal can sense them. You could say that. It's easier to spot a big absence of magula when the area around is so flooded with the stuff.
All right.
The beasts seem loath to approach as well. Let's catch our breath here while we can. Magia hollows or resting places, can return our travels, or visit the academia. What should we do? Make a record.
Still, though.
This town is just crawling with monsters, isn't it? The magula is really dense too. I never imagined it would be so dangerous.
True.
I wonder. Indeed, it's nothing like what we were told. Gyrus, are you familiar with this place? I don't know much of any concrete details, lad, but I can say that these monsters weren't here the last time I passed through.
Then...
So you're saying that these monsters are a result of this thick magula? Well, if there's a reason for it, I can only assume it's the workings of magula. But there's no point in speculating. We must focus on fulfilling the mission. We'll keep moving once we've gotten some rest. Let's go to the Illuminati Sanctum.
Do make yourself at home. that is... What would you care to know? Does this worry you?
You want to know about cats? Ah. About that cat in particular, I'm afraid he's a mystery to me too. Dear as he is, when I awoke in this place, he was already
That's
here.
a good boy.
But he eases my mind. Petting him helps me feel less lonely. Indeed, I feel as if I've known him all my life, for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah?
It spins around. Is it a toy? Awfully big if so.
This right here.
It's a celestial globe. It models the movement of the stars. Astronomy is often confused with the study of magic. Times begin when they are. The association means both fields have been suppressed. Quite a shame.
You'll come again.
Don't worry, I won't leave you in Headspace all alone. I don't own any Persona game right now. I've only rented a P4 and the PS2 and beat it on a rental. Not a bad Persona to have played.
Let's go.
Oh, they don't even let you walk around the safe room. I guess that's easier.
Pardon?
Oh shit, yes. Oh. I could have been buying armor and stuff this entire time.
Now then.
No harm in it.
Thank you.
Oh, this doesn't look worrisome at all.
Wait a second.
Wait, something feels really wrong further in. It might be what I was sensing. Unfortunately, we've got no choice but to press on, regardless of what lies ahead.
Got it?
I'm going to open it. You ready?
All right.
Good to hear. Damn, it stinks in there. Someone needs a fucking change. I can see the glow of a strange crystal, an even stranger monster in front of it.
What is that? I've
What
never
is-
seen anything like it.
Oh, okay. Full voiced.
It's a crystal. Of raw magla. This feels wrong somehow. Now I remember. They say in the lands beyond mortal reach, great spires of crystal stand. And anyone who might touch them is driven mad.
That's all just superstition, though, right? Still, this thing is giving off a really nasty aura.
That's no ordinary monster. Some kind of human?
The way it's moving, it's almost like it's protecting the crystal.
Oh, wow. It's a pretty strong cosplayer, I think.
Here it comes.
It's less scary as it is disturbing.
Yeesh, they're pretty tough. Better be careful.
Warrior! Hack and slash!
What? Troll, you gotta aim better than that.
Blade Red, let's go. With one strike!
Hyper. Front row is being targeted.
I'll get some distance. Ready for impact!
Moving to the rear. I'll hold my ground.
Falling back.
Bonfire of the Vanities.
Good job, everyone! Talk about a close call.
Let's go!
Increases one ally's attack for 3 turns.
Let me help.
I owe you. I shall fight. Are you prepared? I'll cut you down.
So any means necessary.
What? Ooh. Goodbye.
Swordplay comes as easily to me as breathing.
We're still in a fight here.
Take it.
Still
Love.
Not like this. Get up!
Awkward.
Hey! Wake up!
I shall vanquish
Still in a
evil.
fight here.
I call upon royal power within!
Now, engaging.
Hey!
Stepping back!
Hey! Wake up! We're still in a fight here.
Let's try this.
No need to. I'll attack from here. Warrior! The blade!
Big knock!
Job, everyone!
Okay, that was all miss.
Guard up! In the name of justice! This calls for one of these.
Thanks.
Definitely
I owe
helped.
you. Blade ready, I won't hold back. Might not closing in. Let's go. Slashing!
Marius is badly wounded. Don't push yourself so hard.
Seeker! We're not out of this yet.
That helped.
I can't afford to hold back. Warrior! Let me rethink this. To the fore!
No need to rush this.
Ow.
Get up!
Big knock!
God, you've got some fancy footwork, Stroll.
Damn, I think we're out.
No point wasting this.
Blade red, I won't hold back.
The freedom of bracing!
Withdrawing! Warrior! I'll cut you down!
Distancing myself. The power of heroes.
I'll get some distance. Ready for impact!
Great job, everyone! Talk about a close call.
Closing the distance.
Warrior! No. Warrior! Closing in. Warrior! Slashing!
Let's stay calm.
It's just better if I stay in the back and block.
Oh, please!
Warrior!
Perhaps not.
Blade dread any means necessary.
The freedom of a one. Bracing!
This should work.
Swordplay comes as easily to me as breathing. Take it.
It's okay. We can do. Guard up!
Front row is being targeted.
Stepping back. I shall vanquish evil.
How to use this ice shot? Ooh, this also be good.
This calls for one of these.
No need to run. Falling back. The power of heroes.
The freedom of bracing!
I do not want to know what happens if that hits.
Time to go offensive.
Warrior! What a mess. Blade to the front. Let's go. The blade!
I will fight with pride. Guard up!
Watch out! You're barely holding it together!
Big knock!
God!
Miss.
Some fancy footwork, Stroll.
Warrior!
You're barely
Swordplay
holding together.
comes the power of heroes.
Come forth, royal soul!
Please, just don't cast any fire magic. Motherfucker! The one time I don't block.
Hey, wake up! We're still in a fight here.
Could do with this.
No need to rush this. I've got this.
I knew you'd help.
I owe you.
Dodge! Not like they could get you with that.
Ugh.
I can't afford to hold back. No holding back!
No holding back.
This should work.
It sucks they have to handle their own
Blade ready,
fucking
lads.
healing.
I won't hold back.
Front row target.
Seeker! Let me help.
My thanks.
So it should probably be the
Now,
one
what's
turn
the
I
play?
can get away with not blocking.
Moving to the rear. Let's see how this plays out.
Distancing myself. I can endure.
Great job, everyone! Talk about a close call.
Bracing!
Closing the distance. I shall vanquish evil.
No. Engaging the power of heroes.
Okay, I've gotten used to the rhythm. I should be okay, I think.
I'd rather
Badly wounded. Don't push yourself so hard.
I can take it.
Grius
In
has
the
taken some
name,
bad
stepping
hits.
back.
He could use some healing.
Could do with this.
My thanks. swordplay. I'll attack from here. Here.
Thanks.
Trivial.
Ready for impact. In the
Time to go offensive.
Blade to the front. There, mate.
Watch out! You're barely holding it together! Get up!
Fuck me.
Warrior!
Hey! Hey! Wake up!
I'm just gonna let it kill
Still in
me.
a fight here! Hey!
Well, I'm not gonna just stand in the front row.
Still in a fight here!
Distancing
Oh,
myself.
we're bad. Can anyone get on healing duty?
Fine. I won't give up.
Still fight.
What a shame! Good job, everyone! Talk about a close call!
Let's go. With healing power.
I owe you.
Stroll can't take any more!
Warrior!
Someone heal him!
It's probably gonna end up bad either way, but
Now, let's see. Closing in. The power of heals.
Get up! Freeze him down! Someone help revive him!
Are you prepared?
yeah, that's damn sits.
Everyone, forgive me.
I just need to load and switch my my archetype because it being being weakness is kind of just the worst. Okay, perfect.
That should come in handy.
Healing won't be as easy though.
Hey.
Going to academia.
Do make yourself at home. I see.
Not weak to fire.
Fascinating. This right here.
Its heroic embodiment is a good teacher who manipulates the forces of magic at will and performs miracles in the name of those who leads
right.
it.
I'm counting on you.
This is the power I seek.
Of course.
Then so be it. By sheer resolve and honor creed, take new form as a mage. I hear the voices of past heroes of souls. O worthy heart who tempers anxiety into strength, if thou art prepared to pursue knowledge that surpasses the natural logic of the world, I shall bestow upon thee our soul, the soul of the mage.
Really?
So this is the power of the mage's soul. No matter the magic, I shall see it to mastery. For all those still suffering in this land, the mage archetype is awakened. You can now change archetypes from the main menu.
Good. I'm still getting stronger.
Channel the mage archetype. Change equipment. Now I'm on Majorific.
Oh.
Well,
You
let's
were
hope
coming.
this helps me not get bodied. Spending every turn blocking was kind of shit.
Let's go.
Welcome back. Damn, this demo's long.
Welcome. Thank you.
What now?
Now no one has healing skill, so we now have to rely on potions. Alright.
Wait a sec.
Got it? All right.
Let's go! The world is in peril.
No holding back.
I won't hold back.
Falling back. Come forth, royal soul.
This is gonna go so much better.
Stepping back.
Falling back.
I will fight with pride. Let's go. Fire!
Job, everyone.
You ain't shit and your mama ain't shit.
To the fore! Warrior!
Closing in. Warrior! The blade!
Let's stay calm. Mage! Burn!
Mage can stay in the back.
I call upon royal power within! Warrior! Sword warrior! Slashing!
It's okay. We can do this. This'll do it.
Nah, I can still cover healing. Ooh, still pretty strong though.
What can I do?
Badly wounded. Can anyone heal him? Stroll
Blades
can't
I'll
take
attack
more.
from engaging.
Someone heal him.
Warrior! The blade!
I'll show you the essence of truth. Let's try this.
I owe you.
Front row targeted.
Withdrawing!
No. Distancing myself. Take it.
I knew you'd help. I'll show you the essence of truth.
Burn, baby, burn.
Job, everyone. Talk about a close call.
Time to go offense. Are you prepared?
So closing in. The power of heroes.